Come on. There. Yo. Come on. There. Yo. All right. Well, you always got to check because I've got into a live stream before and went like 2 minutes, and then I glanced at the comments and everyone's like, "I can't hear you."
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I bring it up on my Chromebook so I can be in the chat.
Yeah, that's why I do with my phone too, because I can't see the screen from that far away unless I'm right here. Anyway, let me introduce you to Red Flying Rich. So how did you acquire this nickname?
Well, I'm a pilot. You know, that's not my vocation, but my avocation. And so when I started doing, not YouTube, but when I was doing podcasts for tech, you know, I just kind of picked that as my name. So it just sounded cool. Plus also the availability of the name. So I was shocked to find out that Instagram, Twitter, well, you know, before Instagram, but Twitter, YouTube, nobody had Flying Rich. So actually worked out pretty good.
How long ago were you doing podcasts?
10 years ago. You know, 10 years ago. So the first podcast I started with was the Linux Link Tech Show. It's the longest running Linux podcast in existence.
I thought for sure you were going to say AM radio.
No. So that's cool. And my wife, my wife started trolling me. I just did a live stream earlier on YouTube, and she's trolling me. She's like, I heard you say that. You promised you're going to replace that barbecue grill over there. I'm like, uh-oh.
Well, speaking of girls, me and my girl are actually in a debate, and we need some outside input from the comment section as well. What do you prefer, Jell-O brand cheesecake or some sort of bougie brand that's like all done up by a baker or something like that? Because, you know, maybe I just grew up and Jell-O brand was a treat to me, so I like it better, but she'll go to like bakeries and get this like cheesecake and it's dry and it's too sweet. And I'm like, just go to the dollar store, buy a box of Jell-O brand cheesecake, and I'm good to go.
I never heard of Jell-O brand cheesecake.
Yeah, it's just Jell-O and it's cheesecake. Usually comes with the pie crust and everything, and you pack it down and mix it in there, and you don't bake
you
it.
Mean you make it? Oh, it's not pre-made that you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So Long Island, there's a culture. That's where I grew up, and like they're cheesecake snobs on Long Island. There is no way anybody would go for like a Jell-O brand cheesecake on Long Island. I bet they don't sell any of them there. Yeah. Yeah, I'm betting if anybody.
Go to Walmart, there's just no brand on the shelf.
Well, there's bakeries that have just crazy good cheesecake. There's like places that are famous for their cheesecake, and you go there. Like you drive 15, 20 miles on Long Island, which is a big deal, to go to like I think it was Lindenhurst. There was this cheesecake place that everybody goes to. Like if you wanted a really good cheesecake, that's what you went for.
Yeah, I just like Jell-O brand cheesecake. I'd be surprised though if one of those bakers were using Jell-O brand.
Nah, not gonna happen. It's like cheesecake snobbery. Although down here, the supermarket, the public supermarkets, they have a bakery. They make a damn good cheesecake.
Yeah, she'll go through all this pain and effort to make a cheesecake from scratch, and that it's just not the same. I like the creamy goodness of Jell-O brand cheesecake.
Really? You're telling me Jell-O brand cheesecake is better than homemade cheesecake?
To me, I mean,
really?
That's all perspective. Like,
all right, my daughter's not listening.
Oh no, she's in the chat. I see her.
No, my daughter. I said
to her, she'll take a bite of Jell-O brand and almost hurl on the spot, and I'm like, this is like the best. So
you guys are at odds on the.
Yeah, because you just went and spent like $50 at a bakery with cheesecakes and stuff, and I tried each one. I'm like, this stuff is shit. Where's my Jell-O brand?
So, no, I don't know exactly where you are in Wisconsin, because Wisconsin, you know, you could be metro or you could be pretty rural. Are there cheesecake factories by you?
I have no idea.
So Cheesecake Factory is a restaurant, and
no, we went to one down by Madison actually.
Okay.
I remember going there once.
In Palm Beach, there's a cheesecake factory, and my wife is kind of a fitness nut, and between working out and eating right, so it's almost never that I get to enjoy a cheesecake or a tequila.
That's hard.
Yep.
So how long have you been with your wife?
Let's see. Is it 2017? Uh-oh. Do I have to pull out? It's 14 years, I think. So it's like 2007. It's like, I can't read. I used to be able to read that. So it was Flag Day 2007 we got married. So
what's the best decision of your life? Marrying your wife doesn't count because I know she's watching, so. Like what's the second best decision of your life?
Wow. Second, that's a great question. Leaving New York?
Yeah, that would sound like a pretty good decision. Then I could go ahead.
So leaving New York or not giving up on my second crash landing and keep fighting.
Well, now you gotta tell the crash landing thing.
So the second time I crashed an airplane, it was Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I was leaving Monroe, Louisiana, and the canopy flew open and stuff went through, blew out of the cockpit and went through the propeller. It took about a foot off one blade of the propeller. So the first stupid thing I did is I looked back like I can't do anything. I can't, hey, let me get a wrench. I'll fix that, Of course, so the second thing you need to do is find the nearest airport because you got to land. Probably I would have been better off. I think there was a highway below me when that happened. If I landed on the highway, that would have been okay. But in the aerodynamic configuration of the airplane, that nobody knows what your drag coefficient, or let me say your glide ratio is going to be. In other words, for every foot you go down, you're going to go maybe 10 feet forward. So if I was a mile up, I should go 10 miles away, let's just say. Normally, I'd probably go like 15 or 17 miles away. Well, there was an airport, I think it was like 12 nautical away. I didn't make it. Now, I landed on a street, and it's funny what the NTSB guy, when he called me up, he says, so how high were you when you knew you had to land on the street? I said, because I'm not looking at the instruments. I'm just flying by feel. I'm not checking my airspeed or my altitude or anything like that. I'm like focused straight out the window, looking at the road where I'm going to land. And I'm looking down. I'm like, when I knew I wasn't going to make an airport, that's when I decided I'm landing on the road. And somebody I knew in aviation that flew similar planes to mine, he actually told me before this, I'm like, hey, you landed on a road. How'd that work? He's like, well, wasn't even a straight road. And when the road turned, I turned. And actually, that was my same situation. So I came down. I didn't realize at the time, but my main gear took out a power wire on the way down. That probably helped slow me down. Didn't flip me or anything. So I landed on the gear, and I did extend the nose gear. So the nose gear on the plane I have is retractable. And so I took out a power wire, let's see, a stop sign, and then a speed limit sign. But that was after I hit somebody in a car, because I landed in the right lane and there was a car in the left lane. And there was probably more than a 50-mile-an-hour difference between our speeds, or at least at touchdown. And when I came in contact, it probably wasn't that bad. I just broke the back windshield of the car with the main wing of my airplane. So and my cell phone, which was on the passenger seat, didn't even go into the footwell, and I was nose down in a ditch. So ended up, pretty good. I scratched this finger. So the NTSB investigator is like, did you even get a Bobo? He had to put a Band-Aid on. I'm like, yeah, I got a Bobo, but didn't put a Band-Aid on it. So he's like, it says minor accident, minor injuries if you read the accident report. So that plane, unlike the first plane I crashed, which I used two houses to stop it, that plane is repairable. And hopefully when I sell my house in New York, I'll have enough money to fix the damn plane and fly again.
Right on. Hey, I mean, so, like you were saying last time I was chatting with you, it makes you like the most experienced pilot ever, because nobody's got experience in crashing. You got 2 crashes.
I've met guys. I think I met guy. I think he crashed 5 planes. One guy. So I was kind of yeah. One guy I knew. He's since passed, but not due to a plane crash. But I think he had me beat. I think he had 5 crashes. Yeah, this was actually the Isa MacArthur Airport on Long Island where I learned how to fly. He was another guy that flew out of there. His name was Charlie Terry, and that guy had it'd be worth buying him a couple of drinks and sitting listening to him talk. He could tell airplane stories like nobody's business.
I got a question from a viewer. Ask him what the impact felt like when he hit.
The houses or the car?
The worst one.
So the worst one, the first plane crash, that was in New York coming into Isa MacArthur Airport. When I got out of the plane and looked back at it, I'm like, nobody survives a crash like that. It was on the cover of Newsday, which was the Long Island paper. It was in the New York Times. It was, all the New York papers carried the story. The wings were folded up around it.
Wow.
It was, I don't know if you can find pictures of it, but that plane was November 238 Charlie Zulu, so N238CZ. The second plane I crashed was November 144 Tango Juliet. And that, if you Googled N144TJ, you'll actually see the accident pictures. That'll come up. But see, the first plane crash, when I went through the trees before I hit the first house, I guess it knocked out the canopy. It's got a bubble canopy like a F-16. I don't know why my face wasn't ripped off or my head wasn't ripped off. That was pretty amazing. My main gear hit the peak of the roof of a house, knocked a hole in it, and then I came down, skidded across the road. Somehow I ended up pointing the way I came. So it spun around 180 degrees. I don't know if it tumbled or not, but the wings were folded over like, a carrier airplane, how they get folded over when they store it. The left main wing, when it got tore off the plane, that's the rudder cable goes out to the winglet, and it pulled the rudder pedal back, and my foot was on it, and it drove my knee through the instrument panel, and the instrument panel is actually broken forward towards me. I didn't realize that at the time. That's what happened. And it twisted my ankle pretty bad, fractured my tibia plateau, and you're not supposed to walk again after you fracture your tibia plateau, but that's your knee joint, but it was all the way on the outside, so it didn't hurt so bad, or didn't hurt my walking ability, let's say that, because I was on crutches for a couple of months after that one. So I walked away, but I limped.
What did it feel like emotionally, not just like physically? Like you were like, there's something wrong. Like, what was your thought process? Did you have a checklist you went through? Did you say your last words?
So, okay. First plane crash, I was single. Second plane crash, I was married. And I did have the whoops. I told my wife I had insurance, but didn't ever get the policy. So I got in trouble after that. And is she listen? I'm waiting for the comments to come through to see if she's like listening. So when they train you, my instructor, he's like, well, you reach back and you grab the airframe manual and you go to the emergency section. It's like, I'd love to meet the guy that has a cool head enough to do that. I've been in a couple situations. So the first situation I ever had that was like life-threatening, I learned to remain calm, and I was scuba diving at Ponquag Bridge in Hampton Bays, and there's a bridge that goes over the area. It's a great spot to dive for lobsters, but it's shallow. It's a shallow dive, and the visibility could be anywhere from like 2 feet to 40 feet, and I was actually on a dive where it was like 2 feet. And I lost my buddy, another experienced diver. So, it wasn't like we were panicked and, so you always think I can surface. What happened is I'm in 2 foot visibility. My compass was spinning because there's I think there's cables going under. So the compass was just kind of spinning around, and I had no idea which way to go to get out. Because if I went up, there were boats going over the top, and you don't want to do that. And if you're a smarter diver, you probably don't dive where there's boats going by overhead. I realized, hey, I'm panicking. I just kind of like laid on the bottom of the under the bridge there, got my breathing under control, relaxed, looked at my compass, it's still spinning. But what happens is it's a tidal dive. When the tide's coming in, the tide is flowing, the water is flowing to the west. And when it goes out, it starts flowing to the east. And you want to go on the slack period because the tide will move pretty fast depending on how high the high tide is. Sometimes you have shallow high tides and the water doesn't move too fast. But if you have a high tide, the slack period is very short and then it moves very quick out again. So I just realized, hey, if I just hang out here, eventually the water's going to start moving east. And if I'll know that direction, I know to swim south to get out from under the boats, and then I can pop my head up and look around. I'll be in a safe area. And so that's where I learned, and also I flew model airplanes, is if you remain calm and fly it all the way down to the ground, no matter how effed up things are happening at that time, you might be able to make the situation out better than you could have if you just let go of the controls and just let it fall out of the sky. So yeah, there is that initial heart in the throat, holy cow moment. But after that, you realize, hey, there's only one person that can help me, and it's me. You know, not saying God doesn't have anything to do with it, but if God didn't like me, I wouldn't be here right now. So you got to work to make the best possible outcome, and it's all up to you and your training and to make that happen. So that's the first accident when the engine went out. The fuel injection system I had on the plane, apparently, if you go full rich, full idle, it has a tendency to flood, which I found out after the accident. And it's tough to restart the engine. The only thing I didn't try on restart was full throttle, full lean. And that may have cleared the flood and got it running again. I was lined up for a landing, and I thought, like, wow, I'm going to look stupid pushing my plane off the end of the runway because the engine went dead. You know, because I was set up on the glide slope for the landing. So I should have made it. In other words, you come in at a 3-degree angle to land. And there's, depending on the airport, you have what's called VASI lights, which will show you whether you're on the glide slope or not. So I didn't count in the 30-knot headwind I had, which basically is pushing me back. Or basically, I'm going to have a steeper, even though on the glide slope, I would have had to have been above it to make the landing at the airport. So I thought, all right, I'm going to make the landing. I'm just going to have to call the tower, let them know I got to push my plane off the runway and, need some, a tow or something like that. Sure. I didn't think I was going to end up in somebody's backyard, like a quarter mile away from the end of the runway. So that was a little different. The second accident, I was flying, I was going to Minnesota. So I was going to Rochester, Minnesota from Monroe, Louisiana. And I was at like 6,000 feet, and I think, no, wait, 4,000 feet. I was going to go to 6,000 feet, but I would have been above a cloud layer, and I wanted to stay below and out of the clouds. And that's a little different. I wasn't, typically I'll keep an eye, just once you're in the plane and you're flying and the autopilot's on, you're just trying to keep occupied so you don't fall asleep. So I'll do fuel burn calculations in my head, that kind of thing. And one of the things is I'm typically looking like, hey, the nearest airport's here. So if anything happens, I know where to go. Or, just a thought exercise is like, hey, if I lose the engine, I'm going to land here. This is the best landing spot. And
I heard, too, when you're flying, like sometimes you'll lose your up, and then you'll slowly start to go into a bank with a plane, and it gets worse and worse and worse.
Okay,
have you ever experienced that?
Yes and no.
And
so
what is it?
Yes to the first part. All right. So I was actually flying back from the air show at Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So I was flying back to New York, and the usually clouds are horizontal, and you'll get like between layers or something like that. This time, the cloud layers, I've never seen this before, but I was in a gap between a high cloud or a low cloud layer and a high cloud layer, but they're on an angle. And it's like, I'm wanting to fly to match that.
Sure.
So what people don't realize is your eyes tell you what's up. In other words, like you see trees and all that bit, and they've what is the IMAX theater? That's it. They had a ride. It wasn't a ride, but they had this thing, an IMAX dome, but it was like tilted on its side at Great Adventure in New Jersey, Seven Flags Great Adventure. And nothing moved, and there was actually bars, like you stood there and there were bars for you to hold on to, and they would show things like moving. They had, an IMAX camera on, like a motorcycle, and as it leaned, you're leaning. It was actually like you're at a motion simulator, but nothing was moving. It was just your eyes tricking your brain that you're doing this. So that is actually very deadly as a pilot, as an instrument pilot, or just at night. And that's what JFK Jr. fell prey to. Is like if you're flying out on Long Island or in that area. So if you're going to like Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard, there's no horizon. If you're out on a moonless night, the sky is as black as the ocean. So you have no reference. So you have to learn to trust your instruments. So you have, a ball, which is, blue on top and brown on the bottom, and that's your artificial horizon. So it stays stationary. The gyros keep it stationary in space. So if you dive, you see more dark, and if you climb, you see more blue, and if you tilt, you see, that it's not straight. So the ball stays straight in relation to the Earth, and your plane turns around it. I hope I described that right. There's secondary instruments that you can derive that information from. But as my plane is now, I actually have an artificial horizon and then two small Ephis systems that will back it up.
What's an Ephis system?
Okay, great question. So electronic flight information system. So the glass cockpit type stuff. So the little...
Not familiar.
Yeah, okay, you're not a flying guy. A lot of air aviation guys are gun guys. I don't know if it's much the other way around. Because usually...
I have no idea.
Because usually aviation people are more on the conservative side. Because, aviation is like the ultimate responsibility. Which I think probably lends more towards conservatism.
That would make sense. But you were saying about the backup instruments. What are they called again?
So when you fly, you have, in the ancient times when I learned to fly like 20 years ago, Cessnas and stuff like that did not have glass cockpits or an Ephis, which is the electronic flight information system. So you had what you would call the six-pack, and it's just a couple of instruments that most airplanes have. So airspeed, altimeter, artificial horizon, turn and bank indicator. Directional gyro. So that's actually what you set your compass to, because with a compass, there's leading and lagging errors and acceleration and deceleration errors. So your compass in level flight, and if you're flying at a constant speed, reads correctly. But if you start turning, the compass does not read correctly. It'll actually lead or lag depending on which direction you're turning in.
I just recently heard of those terms from shooting out of a helicopter. They were like, all right, so you're going to have to leg it. And I'm like,
yeah.
What? I wasn't shooting out of a helicopter, but I was looking into it just because you never know when you might have to shoot out of a helicopter.
Might have to shoot, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. One of the guys, I went to Iraq, veteran, he's like, hey, I got my drone pilot's license because as a real pilot or private pilot, to get a drone pilot's license, you just got to take a couple of tests. Whereas if you're doing that from scratch, you've got to take a class and get some instruction and then pass a couple of tests and pay for stuff. So I was looking at that as a supplemental income, which I haven't made a dime at. So all of you guys thinking you're going to get your drone license and be rich and whatever, don't count on it.
No.
No, I was kind of shocked. Like I was between jobs, and I thought like, all right, let me just get my drone license, and it was pretty easy for me.
Speaking of which, I understand flying's pretty expensive. What do you do for work?
Okay, I've always done software development, and the last couple of years I've branched into basically like cloud architecture. So,
which is
basically virtualization of computers. So,
I thought you were actually like talking about like you were building model clouds.
No. So, yeah, it's IT term. So, cloud architecture, designing the systems that virtualize the operating systems and hardware, and it's kind of complicated to explain. But so one of the cool things, server virtualization does a couple of cool things. And actually, I could virtualize my laptop and have it on a thumb drive, and then go over to your computer, plug it in. And if I have VMware Player on it, running on your computer, I could run my computer on your computer like it was my own computer. So that's kind of a simple way of describing it. There's more complicated things you can do.
It's all Hebrew to me. I mean, when it comes, it was a process figuring out how to upload a video to YouTube. Like,
now you're actually kind of technical because we've talked. And you're figuring out the YouTube algorithm and thumbnails.
I just enjoy problem solving, and I'll just keep trying and trying and trying and trying. At some point, I hit, like right before I got demonetized, I actually hit. And I rolled all sevens because like every video I was putting out was going viral. None of them were getting demonetized. I don't know if maybe that had something to do with why I got hit, because they were like, you got our number, pull them. Or what the thing was, but yeah, it's trial and error. Just keep trying.
See, that's the same crap in computer programming, or any kind of technical thing. Is you just figure the pattern and you learn it, and then run with it. But yeah, you could have been a programmer.
I don't think so. I don't have the patience for
it. Don't sell yourself short.
I mean, I've had people like try to like break down the basics for me, and I'm like, what?
Linux? What?
Yeah. Yeah, like who is that? All right, huh?
Oh, sorry. Go.
So clearly you're into firearms. Do you have a specific one you like better than the rest? Are you an AK guy, AR guy? Like what if you had to grab one because the rest were going to get torched, like you got to jump out of your window right now because your house is on fire, which one would you grab?
Well, wait, there it is. All right, so I got my AK, right, let's see, right there next to my scuba tank. So I'll answer the question. That's a longer question to answer. And I have one AK. Does anybody really know how many AR-15s they have? And I'm not trying to be cute with the ATF. Between, lowers that are waiting to be assembled, uppers and lowers that aren't matched, I'm not sure how many ARs I have. Let me put it to you that way. I'm not like John Crump. I don't have more than 100. But I have more than 6. But I have an AR with a plastic lower. I have an AR-9. I have a 300 blackout AR. I have a piston-driven AR. I've got 2 AR-10s. One's 308, one's 6.5 Creedmoor. So let me roll back. My first gun, I'll roll completely back. So I'm working on a contract in Minneapolis with a guy, and the guy. His name is Andrew Rothman, and he got more people carry permits in Minnesota than the NRA did. And Andrew was like, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" I'm like, "Nothing." He's like, "I'm teaching a class Saturday. You want to come?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a consultant. I'm gonna sit at home for the weekend. What else am I gonna do? That sounds better than sitting home." So he's like, all right, fine. We're going to be here, and then we're going to go to this range. And, I think he taught at a VFW hall, and then we went to a range. Now, I'm going to, like, pimp myself a little humble brag here. I shot better than the guys. The other guys were renewing their licenses, and they had to go through the class again. I actually shot better than the guys that were renewing their licenses. I was kind of shocked. I think I'm an average pistol guy, maybe a little better than average. I don't think I'm any kind of great at it. I'm a freak with a shotgun. That's like shooting clays. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I'm crazy good with a shotgun shooting clays. It's ridiculous. So, I did the class, and he's like, so you got to get your permit? Now, that was Minneapolis, so Hennepin County, where all the crap is going down. And the Hennepin County sheriff is kind of a dick. He'll wait till the last day possible and then either approve or deny you. Whereas as a non-resident, I could get my permit in the most friendliest county where they're cheap. So I actually, went into work late one morning. I got my permit at, I forget what county it was. And, like 10, 15 days later, I had the permit. Of course, they shipped it back to my house in Florida. So then I flew down to Florida because you can't buy a pistol in another state. So I flew down to Florida. I bought an LC9, which was a real awful pistol. I liked it. It looked cool. But basically, the way the trigger broke on that, I could, left to right, the lateral control was great. But I would have to like aim here to hit here because way the trigger broke, it was just, LC9S is much better. But I now carry the SIG P365. My wife carries one of those also. Nice. So the second gun that I got, because I didn't want to be an AR fanboy, was I got the Ruger Mini 14, but with the ATI, telescoping, folding stock, all that kind of stuff. So
I like them in their original configuration. I think they're sexy looking guns with the wood and just, I don't know.
No, the sexiest one is the stainless steel A-Team one.
Yeah, right.
That's the one I want.
Is that stainless steel or chrome?
Yeah, it's stainless. Sure? Yeah, it's stainless.
I'm gonna have to get one.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to get one of those like a year or two ago, and I just wasn't in the financial spot to do it. So let's see. I'm sorry. I'm seeing a lot of comments come through here, and I'm not hitting you up. So Swamp Dog is out there. He said the LC9 was his first gun. Yeah, that LC9 was awful. Same thing with the LCP, the Ruger LCP. Awful triggers on those things. The LCP2 and the LC9S much better.
I think the P90 was one of Ruger's sexiest pistols, but like as far as user interface with Ruger pistols, it just wasn't there. I mean, they did all right on the revolvers, but like their semi-auto line, like the P90, I don't know if they denied it or designed it for a Predator hand or what, but your fingers couldn't touch any of the controls. It didn't fit your hand right. Maybe Shaquille O'Neal was in on the ground floor of that one, but then like you were even saying, like with the trigger breaks on them, I used to do comparison gun videos. I complain about it constantly, and everybody be like, no, those are 7 foot away. It doesn't really matter center mass. I'm like, well, what if I want to hit something nicer? I want a nicer trigger break, something I can break a little bit nicer. But I've never really been into Ruger semi-auto line at all.
So I think if you give the 7 feet away or 7 meters away, whatever distance argument you have, it doesn't matter. You don't aim anyhow. In a perfect situation, yeah, you could do it. But if you're running, if you're moving, if the guy coming at you is moving, don't you want the damn thing to work as good as possible?
Well, I always used to make the argument, what if they're holding my kid and I got to dome them? Am I going to feel comfortable making that shot with this little micro gun that has a shit trigger break? No, I'm going to want something with a nice break where I know confidently at like 25, 30 yards, I can hit a credit card.
Yes. Yeah. So I got the Mini 14, which is now my safe queen, because I didn't want to be an AR fanboy because, the Mini 14 is superior than an AR because it's got a piston and it doesn't, crap where it eats. So it's a superior firearm. I remember that on the Wolf A1, that was their main selling point. That exactly what you just said right there. Mm-hmm. It was like they all wrote it down on a card and gave it to the people advertising the Wolf A1. I got my hands on one and had space issues. It was ridiculous. Well, and I like the ATI setup. ATI makes some really good stuff, so I'm definitely going to plug and pimp them. And actually, are they in Wisconsin or are they?
I couldn't tell you.
I think they're in your neck of the woods.
Probably.
So Mike from ATI, he was actually at the Iraq veteran shoot. So do you get out to the East Coast at all?
No, I don't do coastlines.
So the
I'm
next
heart
Iraq,
of America.
dude. I spent most of my life, on Long Island, New York City, that kind of stuff. And the first consulting gig I had was in Monroe, Louisiana. And I pulled into town. It was like, almost a 2-day drive in my truck, my GMC Envoy. I seriously was crying as I pulled into town. And it actually was, I was there for 10 months. It was the funnest thing I ever did. I had so much fun there. And, that was my first real exposure to, I forgive me for using the term, flyover country. Now, I've been to Oshkosh, Wisconsin a number of times for the week of the air show. Yeah, for the EAA air show. So, like, first time I flew out was in a buddy's plane, and the only way to go is to fly there. Although the last 3 times I drove, but and actually, I once I went in somebody's jet. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that was my first private jet ride, and I went in a jet. So,
well, Oshkosh is like right down the road. So next time you're in the area, you'll have to let me know.
Oh, hell yeah. So Oshkosh, for the people that don't know it, is the world's, for the week of the air show, there's more takeoffs and landings at that airport than all other airports in the world. And 1/10 of the world's airplanes end up at Oshkosh, Wisconsin the last week in July.
That's where I fell in love with the A-10 Warthog. I like that plane. Then they did a flyover with blanks, and I was like, Mah! I'm like, that is so cool.
Oh, yeah.
So like,
That's
space
nuts.
itself is being ripped apart. And
so they say that as a pilot, when you fire that gun for the first time, that it scares the piss out of you, and you let off the trigger immediately.
Think your plane's falling apart?
Well, that plane was built on Long Island by Fairchild in Republic. So that
I heard
all that stuff.
I heard they were trying to retire it, and a bunch of people got pissed, so it's still in service.
That's been the thing they've been talking about for years, is retiring the Warthog. But I don't see anything that does any better.
No. Low speed, just strafe.
And those things can take significant damage. You see them coming back with holes through the wing, the whole shooting match.
I don't know if it's true, but I've been told they've never shot one down.
I've never heard of it. You might be right.
I was told this. It's not fact, but I was told that there's never been an A-10 shot down.
The pilots have pretty amazing protection because it's a titanium bathtub that they're in. So it's heavily freaking armored to protect the pilot.
And then all the redundant systems, like there's 2 flight control systems, and you got 2 separate engines. You can just lose one and keep going. And I heard they're just a tank.
Near centerline thrust. So the problem with twin engines, the joke in aviation, is the second engine is to get you to the scene of the accident faster. All right. So now here's it. Please say, hey, let's talk guns if I talk too much airplane. So I'm happy
it's just
to talk
topics. Because I'm ADHD, I attract a big ADHD crowd, so you just got to topic jump a lot.
No worries. I'll talk airplanes until you're blue in the face. So the problem with most airplanes, all right, so let's take a single engine airplane. The prop rotates this way. So at the downward stroke, the thrust is asymmetrical. So it's actually grabbing more air on the blade on the right side than on the left side. So when you have 2 engines, the left engine, the thrust is more to the center line, and the right engine, the thrust is over to the wing of the plane, the wingtip of the plane. So if you lose an engine, the engine you always want to lose is the right engine of the airplane, because both props spin in the same direction, clockwise in reference to the pilot. Ideally, both props would spin in towards the center line of the airplane. but they don't, because the engines are more complicated. You have to make it a left engine and a right engine, left camshaft, left propeller, right propeller, all of that stuff. And the ignition system, so the magneto system would have to rotate the opposite direction. So there's all sorts of mechanical issues. They exist, but for the most part, they just make them that way. So it can be a heck of a problem depending on what engine goes out. And Burt Rutan, who designed what my plane is based on, so I have a Cozy 3. It's a canard, so it has a little wing up front, the big wing in the back, and the engine in the back. He designed the Long Easy, and he also designed, let's see, what the heck was that plane called? Crap, I got the image in my mind. It's completely asymmetrical, the airplane. So it has a main boom, which is the fuselage, and then a skinny boom with just an engine. The one engine is ahead of the other engine, and then one engine actually makes more horsepower than the other engine. And, it's the Boomerang. That's the name of the plane, Boomerang. So if you Google Rutan Boomerang, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's actually designed that if one engine fails, you barely notice it. And even though both engines rotate in the same direction. But the props overlap, one's staggered, one's ahead of the other. So Burt Rutan solved a lot of problems in the aviation community. He's a very successful aircraft designer. He designed and flew Spaceship 1, White Knight 1, and Spaceship 2, and White Knight 2. And in fact, I got snuck into the VIP section for the launch of Spaceship 1, and I was like this far away from Richard Branson. I was like 10 feet away from Richard Branson there, which this is back before you did selfies. And Paul Allen was there, and I was too nervous to talk to him, but a buddy of mine just walked up and talked to him. I was kind of like and you think somebody like Paul Allen would have like a big entourage around him. The guy's a billionaire, and Richard Branson, I didn't pay much attention to him. Like, I just noted he was there. But Paul paid for Spaceship 1 and White Knight 1. So I was like, I figured he was just standing there looking at it in the hangar. And yeah, we kind of sneaked by security and went into the hangar afterwards too.
Speaking of like really rich people, so once upon a time I went along with a ride along to do fire inspections on the hangars.
Uh-huh.
There was some very impressive cars there. What's like the most like thing where you're just like when you've seen it at like a hangar or something?
Oh, well, all right. So here's the problem with when you have like poor people like me can barely afford a hangar, and depending on where you are. So a hangar in my neighborhood here, I live in Palm Beach, is like $700 a month at a crappy little airport. And then they have all these rules. They don't want you to have a car in there. You can't store your furniture there. You can't. So on Long Island, yeah, so ideally what you do, like I had a hangar on Long Island I was sharing with a buddy. So my plane parks on the nose. So you'd have to look up, Google Cozy 3 or Long Easy. But you could park two planes, they call it the mating position, in a single plane hangar. So a hangar that would only fit one Cessna 172, you can fit two Cozies in what they call the mating position. So you tuck the nose under the back end of the other one. And so I was sharing a hangar with a guy on Long Island at Brookhaven Airport. So, you get a fridge, a microwave, a stereo, you get a couch and a coffee table, and people would just kind of hang out there like a country club. They call it hangar flying. And then they would have hangar flying. So when you're shooting, when you just BS at the hangar and not fly. Okay. So, you got a hangar on an airplane. What do? You fly. Nah, you just sit back and talk and hang out with guys. But like one guy, he had race cars. He had Formula V race cars at his hangar. People would always have exotic cars of some kind or another. And a lot of the hangar, airport authorities were like at West Hampton Airport. They'd be like, no, you can only have an airplane in your hangar. You can't have a car in your hangar. They got kind of, Gestapo about it. So there's all sorts of rules you have to abide by. But yeah, if you have, I'm the poor guy having the airplane. I'm the guy, because there were guys that have, warbirds. So I knew one guy that had a P-51. I didn't know him while he had the P-51. But for every hour he flew that plane, he had to do 4 to 7 hours worth of maintenance on the plane. Ooh. It was that maintenance intensive. And crazy expensive. The amount of fuel to get to 1,000 feet off the ground, like just pattern altitude, would be the amount of fuel I burned in, like 2 or 3 months. So
that's a lot of fuel.
It took like 80, 90 gallons to get to 1,000 feet in a P-51.
How many gallons does it hold?
I don't know. I'm not a P-51 driver.
So now, what was the logic behind people always putting these sports cars in their airplane hangar? Would they race them down the airstrip, or like, I never understood that.
You might be able to get away with a taxiway, but not the airstrip. But it's like storage. So if you have, like I got a 2-car garage here, we got 3 cars, and it's exactly a 2-car garage, and so only 1 car fits in it with shelving and storage for other stuff. When there's a hurricane, I'll pull my car in the garage. I'll clean things out and I'll pull my car in the garage and leave my truck out. So, my wife's car is always in the garage because, well, she goes to work and I work from home. But I guess you're always storing extra cars. Like, I don't know if you ever watch Hoover's Garage, the YouTube channel, Hoover's Garage. Mm-hmm. But he hooked up with somebody. Somebody has an empty hangar. And, if you own your own hangar, now that's another thing between, renting and owning. Some people put a mezzanine in and they'll put an apartment in their hangar. And then there's other people, depending on the airports and how friendly they are for that, they'll actually live in the hangar. That's where they live. And just to the north of me, I can't afford it, but there's a community called Tailwinds. And basically everybody has a garage and a hangar. And the houses are built on either side of the runway. So
Dark wants to know, have you ever been skydiving except for crashing a plane?
Twice, yes. Yeah, I've jumped twice.
I've seen a video recently where somebody jumped and they got hooked on the landing gear.
Wow.
That's got to be terrifying.
Yep. Yeah. So the first time I jumped, I landed in somebody's backyard.
At least it wasn't on a power line.
Yeah, all right, I'll tell the story. I didn't want to go deep on that. But so the first time I jumped, and this is back when you static lined as opposed to doing a tandem. And tandem means basically you're just the meat bag strapped to the instructor. As pilots, we call skydivers meat missiles. So you always want to avoid, you want to avoid the meat missiles. So
has a skydiver ever slammed into a plane?
Maybe, I'm not sure. I mean, it's possible, but hopefully that doesn't happen. So when I went skydiving, it was at Spadero's Airport on Long Island. And for those of you that don't know Long Island has 2 forks, and like the Hamptons are here and Montauk Point, and I think Spadero's is like before the fork. But it's on the south shore of Long Island. And they drop you from 28 feet in your static line. In other words, as you exit the plane, there's a cord going to the airplane and it pulls your chute out. So it's not like you pull the chute out. Now, if the chute fails, you have an emergency chute on your belly that has an airspeed and altimeter sensor in it, and it'll blow. And if it doesn't blow, there's a manual D-ring to pull to get the chute out. So the first time I jumped, we headed south of the airport, and you're in a plane. It's like a 6-seater plane, but there's only a seat for the pilot. So you got the stupid jumpsuit, the helmet on, you got your knees and your chin, you're tucked in like this, sitting on the floor of the airplane. And then the door opens up, and so you put your feet out. So you at 2,800 feet at about 80 knots, which is near 100 miles an hour. So when I put my feet out to put them on, like there's a like skateboard tape on top of the landing gear. There's just like a step on top of the landing wheel. Your feet go like, whoop, like that. So it's like, you're like, okay, you're holding on. I got my feet onto the landing gear, and then you hold onto the strut, which is coming down diagonal. And then you hold on, and then you step off with your feet, so you're just hanging like a rag doll in the wind. And I'm doing like this, and the instructor's going like that, and I'm like, fuck you, I'm not letting go. I'm staying here. You're landing like this with me. I'm not letting. I'm like, wait, I paid $150 to do this. I'm like, okay, boom, I let go. So you go from like your free fall sensation as time goes when you're in a panic, it seems like forever, but really it's probably 2 seconds. So you go from falling like this to falling like that. And when the parachute opens, the greatest thing in the world is seeing, I was jumping with round canopies. Now they jump with the square ones. So it's a modified round canopy, and you see a perfectly round parachute because they tell you about all of the failures that, like, a line could get looped around the top, and you have like one big one and one small one, or they tell you about all the failures. So the greatest thing in the world when you jump out of an airplane is looking up and seeing a perfectly round canopy intact. And then you grab the steering toggles and you pull left to turn left, and you pull right to turn right. So, and you go forwards at 10 miles an hour. So what you're supposed to do is turn into the wind, which is going to be where the airport is, and you're going to come down and go to the airport. So I'm looking at the airport, and I'm seeing as I'm not going to make that glide, that angle into the airport. I see I'm going down like this, and I'm going to be, a mile or two short of the airport. I'm like, oh no, they know what they're doing. There's going to be another wind current, a different layer of wind, and it's just going to pull me towards the airport. They know what they're doing. They do this all the time. So, and it's a great view. Like if you jump out of an airplane on Long Island, because you can see the shoreline of Connecticut, you see the North Fork, the South Fork, the Hamptons, Penobscot River. It's just fantastic. It's just unbelievable. So as I'm coming down, they say at 200 feet, you turn into the wind and you don't touch the toggles. So I'm coming down and I see like power wires and train tracks. And I'm like, all I'm thinking is my chute's going to get caught over the power wires. My feet are going to be about this far off the ground. A train's going to come by and hit me. That's what's going through my mind. So I end up like, I steered a little bit to get into this area in this guy's backyard, and it's probably a 10-foot square. That was the safe area to land. And in that area was a picnic table and a tree. And I made it down perfect. My parachute was just like draped over the tree a little bit, and they say, don't pull on it because you'll rip it. Well, I knew it wasn't going to rip. I just gave it a tug, and I got it down. I pulled my helmet off and, packing up the chute, and I'm in this flight suit. And this big fat guy in the wife beater T-shirt is looking at me through the screen door.
The hell? You're here for my daughter?
So I look at him. I say, hey, how do I get back to the airport? And he looks at me, looks up, says, same way you got here. I'm like, thanks, bud. So I walk between the houses, and get to the front yard. And it's funny. The kids in the neighborhood are all pulling up on bicycles. They're like, did the Russians shoot you down? What happened?
The Russians. Well, this is.
This was in the 80s.
Oh, I was gonna guess the 50s, but
dude, how old do you think I am? I was born in 65.
Oh, that ain't that old. I figured you at least participated in World War II.
Oh God, thanks, man. Remind me you need an ass kicking when I come visit you.
Right.
Because I'll forget I'm so old.
Somebody asked too. So you only got 2 chutes. If the first one fails, you just pray the second one doesn't, or is that like a super safe one that normally doesn't, or is it just a roll of the dice?
So yeah, it's kind of Oh, I'm just reading Sugar Tits' comment. I got to tell you the story about that because that's funny. So they think I'm an ARC? Is that what they?
It's just they'll bitch about cancel culture and this and that, but then if you make a video they don't like, they'll try to cancel you.
Oh no, she said, I assure you he's not ATF or AFT.
AFT.
So let's see, what were we talking about? Oh, parachutes. So the main chute is a larger chute, and it's on your back. And the emergency chute's a smaller chute. You'll survive with that chute, but you're going to come down harder. And it depends on the type of malfunction that you have as to whether you'll decide Like if you have what they call a streamer malfunction, you're supposed to cut away, like, so there's pull tabs. You pull on your chest straps and then pull the D-rings with your thumbs, release the main chute, and then pull your emergency chute. So it kind of depends on what malfunction you have as to, like if you had a line over in what they call a Marilyn Monroe, where you have one big chute and one small chute because a line went over the top.
Why do they call it that?
Because Marilyn was asymmetrical.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. So anyway, you were saying like, so the small chute goes out, it just usually works, like it's just a roll of the dice, there's no backups past that?
That's it. I mean, how many chutes do you want?
I don't know. I feel like I need more than two though.
You want Iron Man to help you out?
Yeah,
Iron
that
Man
would be
really
great. Or if they could even just put up a trampoline, so if both of them fail, I can just aim for the trampoline. Maybe a bucket of water or something.
Right, a swimming pool.
Yeah, there we go. A really, really deep one.
Yeah.
Could you even survive at that speed? Like
They're
even if you
actually
like did it properly, could you survive at that speed?
There actually have been cases of people surviving.
Oh wow.
So there was a case where I think it was a woman, and she landed feet first, and like her leg bones got crushed, but she survived. So I guess the next thing you got to worry about is internal bleeding, those kinds of things. You know, cutting an artery, a femoral artery, or something like that.
I wonder what the maximum velocity is you could hit water and still survive. Like saying everything else is perfect, you got the perfect form, and you go in.
That's a good question. Because they have all these high divers jumping off cliffs and stuff. They say if you jump off the Golden Gate, it's not survivable.
Like why though? Like we had this chick in Minnesota commit suicide by jumping off the bridge, but there was water under that, and I don't understand why that wasn't survivable.
Well, I think first off, if you belly flop into it, that you're screwed.
Well, yeah, even just going off the side of the pool, but
yeah, if you go perfect, feet first, it's I don't know. That's a MythBusters question.
Right? How fast can you actually hit the water, and how high does that equate to? So there's got to be a limit.
Now, if you're in an arch formation skydiving, basically arms out, legs spread like that, I think the terminal velocity is like 120 miles an hour. But let's say you're jumping out of a plane without a parachute, and you're going to be landing in the ocean. You go arch formation, you don't want to hit the water like that. You want to straighten out and go feet first. So,
and what's the terminal velocity of that?
I think it's upward of like 200 miles an hour.
That's cruising. That's really cruising. Yeah. It's hard to breathe when you get above like 120 without, a car around you. Because even on a bike, I've been up past 120, and it starts to get kind of hard to breathe.
Yeah, I'm looking around to see if I can.
Coming from my house.
No, I'm looking around to see if I can see my wife, depending on what story I can tell, because she was trolling me on my last live stream. But I don't see her commenting. I'm wondering if she's like stealth trolling me or not.
Yeah, that or she's like, I'm not going on that channel. Not going to happen.
So, okay, I hate saying sugar tits, but since that's her screen name, I get you were on with on John Crump's channel with me, and one of the guys on my channel was like, "Oh, that was the best show ever with CRS." So you got big props on that. So after we did that live, I don't know if it was a day later or whatever. How you get messages from hot girls on Instagram all the time. At least in my case, they don't want to talk to me. They're just some guy in India, really.
Yeah, right.
In your case, it might actually be a hot girl that's interested in you. So,
not unless I'm willing to send her money to some other country for a plane ticket.
Right. So, I see something and I'm ready to like just delete or decline, like accept this message from Sugar Tits. And I'm like, well, I'm just ready to. Then I see like CRS. I'm like, oh, CRS fire. So I read it like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, oh, wait a second. Like, oh, this is CRS Firearms invite to come on the show. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Well, Because seeing how the reason she's got that name in that, because you need an internet persona. At first, like once upon a time, she didn't have a fake name, and she'd like hop in my live or something to like monitor a comment or say something like that. Next thing you know, she'd have 300 Facebook requests. So she had to change her name to something. And it's got to be something that catches attention, which it does, because you say it, you're like, what the? Oh, yeah. You instantly go to that comment. But yeah, after the John Crump live, actually, she wound up subscribing to your channel, and she watched a couple of your videos. She's like, I really like this guy. He's kind of funny. You should have him on. I'm like, well, send him a message. If I send people messages, they block me.
So I'm coming up on 3,000 subs, and the reason, let's see, is it over this way? This way. The reason there's a scuba tank and an AK there is because if I hit 3,000 subs, I'm going to shoot the AK underwater in my pool. But if my wife finds out, she's going to lose her mind.
Well, yeah, because they don't understand the bullet.
Oh, crap. She is here. My wife's in the chat.
Which one? Oh.
I just blew it. Well,
see, she's got to get a persona name, too. Otherwise, she'll get like 300 friend requests on Facebook after this live.
For some reason, my wife didn't go for the name Sugar Tits. I thought that was a good name, and
she could go Sugar Lips.
Uh-oh. She did the say what?
That's hilarious.
Wait for her to run out. Is she going to come screaming out? So
what's the main drive of your YouTube channel? And how did you get started on YouTube, and why?
Wow. So I've been on YouTube forever, for like 8 years or more. And it was more just like sharing videos with my friends. I never had an idea that anyone other than friends and family would be interested in anything. It just, kind of a weird thing. And so I started posting. I'm like the worst YouTuber on the planet, just because I don't post often enough. I do different content. So I'll do tech content, I'll do firearm content, I'll do exotic car content. So I do a lot of odd things. And I probably, I have other channels and I just haven't posted to them yet, but I want to post like all my tech on a tech channel, all my car stuff on a car channel. So it's going to be not just car stuff, but aviation, cars, boats, that kind of stuff on the other channel when I get it rolling. And the tech stuff
a lot of those topics are very polarizing. Like you post the guns thing, you're going to lose anybody that's not into guns. You got a car and you're just whittling your audience down.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm the worst YouTuber on the planet.
Your wife says you're the best husband on the planet.
Oh my gosh. Thanks, dude.
You want me to screenshot that?
It'll be live in the replay. That's good. We got it.
Right. The stenographer is working.
Yeah. She actually said, "Oh, can I be on the show?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Come on, jump in."
Yeah. Why isn't she on here?
I don't know.
Just send her an invite email.
Oh, she heard. No, she can come out.
But anyway, keep going. Worst YouTuber on the planet, because we're getting into why you were on YouTube, how you got started on YouTube, and where you want to go.
So, my social media really started doing like the Linux Link Tech Show, which is a Linux-based podcast. And I've done a couple of other technical podcasts. And I would do how-to videos. And then when I got into firearms, I actually have a Mini 14 video that was one of my best videos for a long time. Had a stink load of views. I don't know why. Because you have somebody that doesn't know anything about firearms talking about the first gun he ever got, So
I think that's pretty normal, because most things I talk about I suck at. I think people just like coming along for the learning experience.
There's probably something to that. Is John Crump in here? Hey, John.
Maybe.
And he said Rich is also insane.
Yep, right there.
I don't know why people say that. Hank Strange says that all the time. Do you know who Hank Strange is?
Yes.
Okay, so I was with Hank, Lola, and the Kellers from Safety Harbor Firearm yesterday. So that was fun. I've never been to Walter's shop before, so that was kind of cool.
And, I heard you gave Sugar Tits Hank Strange's woman's number. This way I could try to get on there too. which I appreciate.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. And so Walter did. Hopefully the lighting isn't awful. So that's Hank Strange's lower. It's his logo, and it's laser etched. And it's cool because it's not like it looks kind of like this, but it's not exactly this one. Not exactly the patch. So the laser is just really cool. It's not like when you engrave with like kind of a point, a triangular point. It actually they've showed me these lowers where they actually burn through, and they can skeletonize it. And the way the laser works is it works to a certain depth. It's actually a focal point that it burns down to. So I'm like, wait a second. So they showed me they burned. So it's the palm tree, the Safety Harbor logo with the palm tree. So they burned that through a lower. And I'm like, how does it not burn the other side? You got to put something in there, like a hunk of wood or something. So it doesn't. They're like, no, it just stops because it focuses at a point, and that's it. It
kind of like the magnifying glass thing.
Yes, exactly.
Man, when I found out that wasn't a joke, you could actually start fires with magnifying glass. Oh, it was
burned a neighborhood down.
No, but I set a lot of shit on fire.
I've never done that with a magnifying glass.
Yeah, it's weird at first because it starts working and you're like, I'll be a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Hank get a big Fresnel language. So I was over there this weekend. I picked up this lower. We're actually kind of together working on a 3D printing project, which I'm like sworn to secrecy. So I've 3D printed AR-15 lowers, AR-9 lowers. So we're 3D printing something cool that'll be out in the future. So look at Hank's channel or subscribe to Hank or my channel. I'll probably have a build video on it. Nice. So that's a lot of fun.
I want to get into Honey Badger, but man, the tax stamps and like I was really on board when you could get away with the pistol brace thing, but then they shut that down, and it's really killing my motivation. Not to mention there's like a 48-month wait time, and it's
so you're an FFL. Why not get the SOT?
Well, I got the SOT.
Oh, you have the SOT. Oh, okay.
I'd have to keep it at the shop. I'd want to take it home. It's not the same if you got to keep it at the shop. Like
from
kind of mine.
From what I understand, so if you do the SOT and you have it in your name, not the business names, that's your possession. So if you ever not renew the SOT, you own the item.
Yes. But then I'd go through the tax stamp process just like everyone else.
Oh, really?
Now, if I did it as the SOT, I could take it out for demonstrations, media purposes, shit like that, but it must return back to the shop. And that's the whole hard wall I keep slamming up against. Because I'm like, I can make this, I could have it, I could use it anytime I want, but I can't take it home.
Yep.
And that's...
Yeah. Now, Hank, I think, has an SOT, and he doesn't have a shop.
Well, you can get a home FFL. Like, I could get a home FFL and get an SOT, and then it would be at home. But then I got to invite strangers into my home to do business because you can't get an FFL for a hobby. It must be a business. Like Mr. Guns and Gear, he's got an SOT. I don't know exactly how he sells firearms out of his home. Like if he's got a little section built off.
I'll tell you after the show. Okay.
But yeah, because I'm like, man, I couldn't imagine just letting people come into your house.
Yeah, I know the backstory on that.
Okay.
Things might have changed for him recently. I'm not sure, but there's a backstory on it. I'll tell you after the show.
I'm really, don't forget, set an alarm or something because I'm curious right now. Like, I'm drooling.
So does CRS stand for Can't Remember Shit? Is that what it stands for?
I didn't actually know it stood for that until after I picked the initials. But after I picked the initials, and everybody's like, well, last time I knew CRS stood for Can't Remember Shit. I'm like, oh, that's great because now I don't have to explain it stands for Coloma Resale, which sounds stupid as hell. Because, yeah, my channel at one time was actually called Coloma Resale. And I just wasn't getting any traction. My click-through rate
mhm.
was piss poor because I'd look at analytics of other channels with the same subscribers, and they'd be doing like 3 times the click-through. That means nothing. All that means is 3 times the people are clicking on the video initially. I
Right,
changed
right.
the name to CRS Firearms, and instantly my click-through rate tripled.
Cool, cool. Yeah, so hopefully your people are subbing to me because when I get to 3,000, then there it is. There, I got to lean this way. So then I shoot the AK underwater in the swimming pool.
Well, that's what you're doing right now. You're selling yourself because
I'm
it
selling it.
never works off of like cross communities. You'll get a couple that are,
Mm-hmm.
but that's nothing. The thing is, when you come on a live stream, you're selling yourself because if they don't
Yep.
like you for you, then they're not going to sub.
Yeah. Well, so it was kind of like when I was doing wedding photography in New York. I wasn't a good photography studio, but I was a better guy doing the work and handing the film over to the studio. So I'm a better guest in YouTube. That's like why I suck as a individual YouTuber, but I'm a good Ed McMahon or whatever it may be.
Sure. The easier way to think about it, it sounds cold, but you are selling your audience entertainment.
Yep.
Are you a good salesman or not? Same with like, the nail shops and stuff my girls go to. She'll strictly go on, she's got 2 categories. 1, the quality of work they do. 2, do I like the person? If she don't like the person, she don't go back. It don't matter how good the nails were. The nails suck.
Yeah.
She don't go back. Like, it's gotta be, you gotta like the person.
Oh gosh, that's like, and I'm gonna sound incredibly bougie, but we only did this a couple times a year. There's a Ruth's Chris, and there was this waiter there, Louis. Oh my gosh, the best service ever. Just absolutely unbelievable. So that was fantastic.
That makes all the difference. I mean,
oh yeah,
I've met people
we have been there.
My ex-boss, he had the gift of gab. I don't know how to explain it, but it did not matter. Instantly, when people met him, they liked him. Like when he left this lube center he was at, you actually could watch the numbers just fall.
Wow.
He just, the gift of gab, like it goes a long way.
Oh yeah, yeah, and especially if it's one thing if you mutter on about people don't care about, then that's not a good thing. But if you engage people, if you get them to talk or get them interested, that's different.
Well, a lot of it goes, are you generally interested in the person? Like that goes a long way in customer service. If you can find a way to get interested in your customer, like, besides the fact you want their money, but like legitimately get interested in them, that goes a long way.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
And it's the same thing on here. Like if you see a comment and you want to answer it and you're interested in that comment, that they're probably going to subscribe.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of comments fly by, and I, unfortunately have been answering them. So I apologize to people that have been asking.
You'll see one pop up sooner or later.
Yeah.
Like here's one directly to you.
Is that the Swamp Dog one? Yeah. So John Crump knows Swamp Dog. He built the Bullpup. I think it was a 9mm high point carbine. I actually have the 10mm high point carbine in the Bullpup stock. So poor man's Bullpup. But he built it, did it up. They called it the Mandalorian, and awesome. Sold it at auction as a fundraiser for John's niece for medical expenses. So I got to meet Swamp Dog at Iraq Veteran, and that's why I was asking you if you ever get to the East Coast, because October 3rd there's going to be another Iraq Veteran shoot, and it's just fun meeting a lot of people. Like you and I, we haven't met, but you go to Iraq Veteran, you meet a whole bunch of gun guys, and just hang out and stuff.
I do actually intentionally want to get more sociable. Plus, it's a huge tax write-off. So as long as everything works out the 19th, I'm there.
Right.
The 19th is when I go for my remonetization, and I needed some tax write-offs anyway.
So what the heck happened? Are you still broke?
Well, I'm not broke, but I'm not able to spend money on it. It all depends on the term of broke. I've been broke to where I've had to borrow $1 to get enough fuel in my truck to start it to move it across the yard.
Oh,
Like that's what I consider broke.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, I hear
you don't have a pot to piss in. So I'm not like broke, but I can't go and dump, that trip would probably cost me $3,000. I can't go and dump $3,000 just to go out and shoot guns when it's not a tax write-off and I don't have another $3,000 coming in to replace it.
Oh yeah. But YouTube was a big part of your income. So that
about 99%.
Whew, Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh man. So don't get me wrong, I might look all sorts of bougie, if we talk airplanes and I got the house in Palm Beach and all that kind of crap. First off, it's on a dirt road. But so I bought more house than I could afford 7 years ago. And I finally bought it after 10 years of doing IT consulting. Thinking like, all right, I've had a good run for 10 years. That's a good track record. I should have a good 10 years in the future. And then the bottom fell out. So for 3 years, I barely worked. And I ended up, I think I owe more in credit card debt or general debt other than the mortgage and like a car payment that I make in a year. So I'm like, I got a house in New York that I grew up in and that I was renting, and my tenant moved out. So the good news, bad news, property values went nuts. So once I sell the house in New York, everything's getting paid off. The airplane's getting fixed. My wife's going to get a couple things she wants.
Yeah, see, that's what kind of saved me was my girl. If it wouldn't have been for her, I probably would have been in Vegas, hammered, going through my phone and I'm like, oh shit, I'm demonetized. But she had money put away because I told her, there's a 99% chance that at some point in the future, the rug's going to get pulled out. I don't know their logic behind it, but they just do it. So we need to be prepared. We need to have money put away. And like the month before this happened, we spent like my whole YouTube check just paying off debt. So,
oh, good for you, man.
We're damn near debt free. There's a couple of things here and there that I've still got to mop up.
Well, I just paid off. I'm so happy about this. I paid off my Genesis Coupe Friday. So I'm like crazy freaking excited. So I saw one of your videos. So what was the truck with the supercharger you had?
I had a 1985 GMC Jimmy, but it had a 91 front skirt on it with a supercharged 355 in it. Dude, that thing hauled.
And how much horsepower was that?
I never put it on a dyno, but looking at the parts combination I use compared to like what they use in magazines, somewhere around like 550, 600.
Wow.
But it was only 2,900 pounds. That's the rub.
Oh, okay.
Because it was gutted. I took everything out of it.
Because my stupid car, it's great. It's 348 horsepower, 6-speed. It's got the Thomson differential, which is very cool except for tire wear. But it weighs like 3,300 pounds. It's a pig.
Yeah, I was 2,900 pounds. I weighed 130 pounds at that time with me sitting in the driver's seat when I went over the scale. So it'd actually be like 28 and some change or something like that.
You weighed less than gas in the tank.
Yeah. And that was my beast. But I ran into some hard times. That's where I was broke. Like truly broke. And that went on the chopping block because that was a luxury. And
oh, hell yeah. Dude, good for you. They have the sense to do that.
Well, I kind of did because I traded it for an 85 Corvette and a bag full of cash. But then I sold the Corvette and I bought an Armorlight AR-10.
As long as you got your priorities right.
Yeah, right. Gotta get a gun.
No, that's... So, how did you get started in firearms?
I think I was stupid young. Probably like, I think I got my first pellet gun at like 6. And then I got a Ruger 1022 at like 8. Now, I mean, this is like 100 years, well, not 100 years ago, but a long time ago, 30 some years ago. So it may not be the right time, but basically as a kid, I lived out in the middle of nowhere. I had a mile of empty in all directions. So there was no worried about shooting in the wrong direction or anything. And just always did it.
Yeah, I grew up, New York on Long Island, basically the land of no as far as firearms are concerned. And my parents were conservative, but they didn't want anybody to have a firearm or a BB gun. And then, like, I don't know, my 10th birthday, my dad bought me a BB gun. And I always thought the Second Amendment just made a lot of sense. You know, as a New Yorker, as, you know, a thinking individual, it just made a whole lot of sense to me. And it wasn't, what kind of plane do you, oh, okay. So let me see if I can find a picture of the plane, because this is really cool.
But yeah, and like the whole survival thing in that, it's not that I got into guns because of survival. I was just looking for a reason to justify the guns I have. So that's why I'm like, okay, survival makes sense. So now I can justify it. But I always wanted to be like in movies or something like that, because I'd watch Arnold Schwarzenegger movies like Predator and Terminator and stuff like that. I'm like, I want to do that. And then I found out that you basically had to like get groomed and, you know, take a shot to the mouth to get into Hollywood. I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. Then I discovered YouTube, and when I discovered YouTube back then, that was back in the Jimmy days, I would basically just watch people do burnouts with supercharged cars. And then I started to see like an industry formed around it. I'm like, that's it. The cards all fell into place. I'm like, that's cool. What I want to do for a living.
Yeah, because and again, it depends on your burn rate. My wife and I both make good money. If I didn't have the amount of debt I had right now, I'd be having a lot nicer things, you know, going on nice vacations and all that bit. And, you know, it's not like I have a bad car, but I got a 2015 Genesis Coupe 3.8 liter. I probably could have a lot better stuff. Like Hank, I don't know if he likes talking about it, but he does have an Audi R8. And I was thinking, like, when I sold the house in New York, I'll have some play money. Maybe I get me an Audi R8, you know? And then I'm thinking I'm going to spend 60 to 70 grand, get an older one, that kind of thing. With the pandemic, the prices just went nuts. There is nothing that's cool to drive that's a bargain anymore. It used to be that you could find the obscure fill in the blank and, you know, pick it up. There aren't any deals out there. And I blame all the car YouTubers, because they're shining a light on all the bargains out there. Then all of a sudden they're just not reasonable anymore.
Yeah, see, the pandemic actually worked out differently for me. With the pandemic, I rolled sevens. Like, everything I did was focused around the pandemic. I had an essential job because I hauled freight for the post office, so got to keep my job. I sold firearms. We all know how that went.
Yep.
I did YouTube. We all know that everybody started watching YouTube videos en masse. Like, everything just fell into line.
Blew up.
Actually, I just seen a notification on my Facebook. Last year at this time, I had just under 30,000 subscribers.
Dude, that's killer.
Yeah, I picked up almost 100,000 in 12 months.
Wow. Good for you, man.
Yeah, I lucked out on that. It could have went totally different. I mean, some people really took it up the butt, but I count my blessings when I get them. That was definitely a blessing.
See, it's funny. I did, you know, during the election, my wife is the Jehovah's Witness of conservatism. When I married her, she was a rhino, which, in case people don't know, means Republican in name only. But she's like crazy off the deep end. And
sorry.
Oh yeah, she's
so
here's the problem. Her family, they're the stereotypical New York Jews, you know, liberal to a fault, the whole, you know, I don't understand. You can't explain to me why Jews are liberal, but most Jews are liberal. And I'm like, really? You don't have any idea why you would want to have a firearm and defend yourself? You know, that doesn't seem like a logical process to you. But they're all nut job liberals. This guy is screaming Mulder and Scully right now. I'm not sure what that means.
I don't get it either.
And it says, Flying Rich is low-key envious of Rich Cooper. Who's Rich Cooper?
I have no idea. I wish I knew, because then I'd get the joke. Yeah, the worst part about the whole pandemic thing is, so like everything fell into place. for me to make a really good channel, but then I couldn't get supplies. Everything was out of stock everywhere. Because as soon as it happened, I got my SOT because I'm like, I'm going to do machine gun videos. That's where it's at. That's going to be my push to 1 million. I can't get ammo, so it was like the world's worst troll in the world.
So now going to events like Iraq Veteran and fill in the blank, I've only once paid to shoot a machine gun. All the other times, it was other people's firearms, other people's ammo, which that's like the best life ever, right?
Right.
But, with the pandemic, I've actually, I don't want to talk about how many actual AR-15s I have, and for two reasons. One, everyone that understands that knows. But the other reason, between uppers and lowers and, look, I just got this, I don't know, do you count that as a firearm or not? I know what the ATF says. Some people collect lowers. I don't actually collect lowers. I don't believe in the safe queen, the hanger queen, any kind of stuff like that. Everything you have should be functional in my mind. But it's just, I've got ammo. I don't want to say how much, but I don't want to shoot it and use it up. So I'm like paying as I go. So if I go to the range, I'm buying ammo at whatever today's price is, because I don't want to dip into whatever I have, because what I have is my reserve.
Yeah, that was actually my plan, was to make a 22 machine gun, like a Ruger 1022, and make that full auto. Because I'm like, I got the 22 ammo. My daughter's chewing through my 22 ammo at an alarming rate. So now I'm back on the hunt for 22 ammo. I thought I was good, but every time we go now, she'll have me load up all of her mags, which is over 100 rounds, and she'll just dump it, and she thinks it's the best thing in the world, which makes me think it's the best thing in the world. So
right.
I allow her to do it.
Yeah, somebody had a 22 Gatling gun.
That would be awesome. I don't know how to feed right, though.
Now, Ares Armory, they have the 9mm Gatling gun. It takes the Glock mags, so you can put drum mags and everything in it.
They send those to a lot of creators. I'm waiting for them to contact me so I can get my Gatling gun. Well, I think that would be awesome.
That came out like 2 years ago. I know Demolition Ranch did one. They opened the side of the van, the minivan. They're shooting out the door.
I was going to mount mine on a bicycle and just bicycle around while I'm shooting. I'm serious. That's my plan. I have a bike picked out and everything. I'm just waiting for him to get a hold of me and send me one so I can bicycle.
Get a speedometer drive to hit. No, you can't do that. No, that would violate a couple of laws.
Well, no, I'm an SOT.
Okay, you can do that then.
Because I wonder if the gear itself would be the machine gun. Because then I just have to serialize the gear. I can run the gear down to the tire, so it's just a as I pedal.
Oh, dude, we need to do a build session together. We need to do some crazy things.
We can. I need to get a hold of the Ghost Gunner guy too, because I got to grab one of those machines. Because that'd be the easiest way to make full autos, is just take an 80%.
Do you know who knows Cody Wilson?
Oh, I do. I got his number and everything. He actually sponsored a couple of my videos.
Oh, okay, cool.
And he said he's going to get a Ghost Gunner out to me, but everything got crazy, and
yeah.
Didn't keep up.
He sends Crump everything.
Yeah, I gotta get one of those, because then I can just make receivers. And but yeah, I think it would just be the gear that they would probably count as a machine gun, so I wouldn't have to destroy it when I'm done. So I can just take off the gear, destroy the gear, because I destroyed the machine gun. So I still got the Gatling gun.
What you need to do is you need to build an electric Hot Wheels drift bike.
Electric Hot Wheels drift bike.
Not Hot Wheels. What's it called? What were the big wheel? Big wheel. That's it. An electric big wheel drift bike, and have the machine, not machine gun, the Gatling gun driven off that. I think that would be the ultimate and cool.
It would. I'm gonna have to run some sort of clutch system though, because I don't want it to start shooting. Once I'm pedaling, I want to be able to do strafing runs.
So you have two handlebars, one handlebar to steer, one handlebar for the
no, it's just strafing like old fighter pilots. I just got to be pointed at my target and swerve away at the last possible second.
So Do you know what Chuck Yeager said about shooting down the Germans? He says, I don't know how this stuff worked. I just got so close that they filled the target, and I just hit the cannon, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
So
that...
I almost got run over by Chuck Yeager. So I was at the Oshkosh Air Show, and my buddy just pulls me, like throws me to the ground. I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, Chuck Yeager just went by in a golf cart, and he almost hit you.
He's doing a strafe run. But yeah, so I'm hoping that at some point in the very soon future, they'll get a hold of me and send me one of those Gatling guns so I can mount it to a bicycle.
So, all right. So Alex posted that Big Daddy Unlimited put a drill on their 9mm Gatling gun. So
yeah, that would be a machine gun.
Are you in with Big Daddy or
no? You got to get in with Leviathan Group, and I think I pissed off too many people in that industry to get into there.
Because I Atarak Veteran Leviathan Group was there, and Big Daddy was there, and it's unfortunate. There are some politics that go on in the gun world, and so some people like these guys, some people don't like these guys, and if you want to keep your friends, you can't do this or you have to do that kind of thing.
And it's a shame because, especially in my younger YouTube days, I was just shitting all over everyone. But I'd see bullshit, and nobody would call it. And I'm like, bullshit, and I'd make a video about it. But now it's kind of coming back around to haunt me.
Hey, so I do appreciate people that just speak their frickin' mind, that tell the damn truth, and I think there's too many shills. Like I listen to conservative talk radio. And you hear these guys advertise like home title lock. I'm like, F you. You're telling me somebody can steal my title by forging my bull crap. Like, and the sheriff's going to come and kick me. I won't know until the sheriff comes and kicks me out of my door. And I got to buy home title lock. And, whoever your favorite conservative talk show host is saying, yes, it's true. Like, yeah, I don't think so.
I know what you mean. I would never I never went after anyone for like shilling because I knew I was going to make this a business myself. I was open about it. I'm like, hey, this is going to be my job. This is a business for me. I have a business model, put it behind it. But just other things that I would see and I didn't know any better, so I'd crap on them and then it all comes back around.
But see, you're the guy. Like if I had a product, I'd want you to say, hey, buy Flying Rich's fill in the blank. It's the best thing ever. Because you know what? People would trust you because you shit on so many people.
Yeah, but it's got to roll in too, and I won't do reviews. Like I've had several companies get a hold of me like, hey, how much will you charge for a review? And I'm just like, I don't do reviews. You want to buy a sponsorship place? That's different.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm like, this is a commercial. Everyone knows it's a commercial. It's attached to a video, like not a review where my video is based around this particular product. So that's all I do is just like, example, Cody Wilson. He did the Ghost Gunner. Okay. So he got a commercial slot in the video. The video had nothing to do with the Ghost Gunner. It was just a commercial slot.
Hey, and you know what? In a way, that's very honest. That's you're not like thanks, Sugar Tits. She says subscribe to Flying Rich. I appreciate that. Like T&E. So, somebody sends you a T&E, and if you say bad things about it, or if you don't say all good things about it, you might not get another T&E from that vendor, from whatever manufacturer it may be. And for people that don't know, T&E means trial and evaluation. So I'm going to make it up. Let's say Safety Harbor Firearms sends me a 50 cal. And if I say, well, this 50 cal upper that fits on your AR-15 is great, but, it doesn't have a good sling mount. I don't know, I'm making it up.
Widget.
And say they're not happy about that. They may never, when they come out with a new product, they may say, well, screw him. I'm not going to send him a T&E. And the other side about a T&E, in case people don't know, some companies will just give you the firearm. There's very few like that. I know of one, that if you see somebody getting a review copy of the firearm for them to evaluate, they're keeping it. They don't want it back. But other companies, they'll give you a T&E, and after you review it, you have the option of keeping it at a highly discounted price or shipping it back to them.
Oh, I've been straightforward. I'm like, unless I can keep it, I don't even want it because there's a chance I'm going to break it. I don't want to buy broken shit. And what if I've paid it and I make a terrible video? I don't want to be stuck with it because I broke it. But yeah, especially like smaller channels, if they don't like rave about their T&E, they're not going to get another one. You get over like 250,000, 500,000 subs, that's a little different story. Then you have a little bit more freedom because, hey, you got to get it on his show.
So up until now, every firearm I've reviewed, I've bought myself. I'm T&Es are going to start coming in, but like I said, up until now, every stinking and even firearms I bought to just do the review, I still haven't reviewed. So I'm like the worst YouTuber in the world because of that. So I don't think I've done a review on like my PS90. I've got the Ruger 5.7. I did like attaching an optic to it. I have the FN 5.7 that I never reviewed. I bought the High Point 10mm right when it came out, and I paid the New Gun Premium for the High Point 10mm carbine and didn't do a review on it. So
honestly, reviews aren't where it's at. Like, if you want to like seriously break out, you got to dump them. I dumped them at like 10,000 subs, and then I started doing comparisons because I thought, okay, so I'm not reviewing. I'm just putting up against another one, so there is no winner or loser or me being a shill. And then ultimately, I dumped comparisons because I found out that it doesn't matter because now you got double the odds of pissing someone off because you have two firearms on there. You're better off just making like a show video, like what Grantham does, like just really awesome shooting and different angles, and maybe if there's something you don't like, you throw it in there. But pretty much, it's just to show how awesome the firearm is because everybody that clicked on that video already owns the gun. There's a small percentage that went there for information, but they probably already own the gun.
So it's more of what you would call a confirmation bias. I bought the gun. I think I'm smart for buying the gun. He bought the gun, and he's shooting it and making a cool video with it. So now we're both cool.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what shitting on video you make, no matter what the gun is, from a High Point to a Taurus G2C. If you make a bad video about any single firearm, your negatives, your dislikes will go higher than your likes, and people will be pissed because they've spent their money on it, and you're telling them it's a shit gun. And they'll take that as like not you telling them that their particular samples sucked, but that they suck and they're stupid for buying it. That's
right. And I think so. I suffer from a problem. I think everybody knows what I know. So I think that if we're talking aviation, everybody knows aviation. Like when I said Ephis, I'm like, oh, I got to explain what Ephis means. Of course, you don't know what Ephis means. You're not a pilot. But I think everybody knows what I know. That what I know is common knowledge. So I would think, just the way I feel about things, the LC9 was an awful gun.
Yeah, don't ever do a video like that though, because you'll not get a positive response.
I would have to look at the numbers, but I did like an LC9 versus LC9S video when I got it. When I got the new model. And the LC9S, I think for the time was a great gun, but now when you have something like the SIG P365 where you have 10+1 capability and a gun that's almost dimensionally identical, and for me, I'm a lefty and I pocket carry, and I would always eject the mag or like hit the safety on the LC9, which I finally removed the safety on the slide. I'd have an inoperable firearm in my pocket 50% of the time. So the 365, and actually that's why I got back into 3D printing again, because I wanted to 3D print a grip for my LC9S that had a right-handed or left-handed, I should say, mag release that you could operate with your thumb on the left hand, or mag release on the right side as opposed to left side. Because I don't believe that I'm a left-handed. Everybody should conform to me. I'm a left-handed person. So I use my middle finger to eject the mag because I expect every firearm to have a, mag release suited for a right-handed person.
Yeah, the best thing to do with a gun you hate is do something comical. Like, be like, and the LC9's awesome because it can shoot underwater, and do your scuba tank and have a target up where it gets like no hits on it. And be like, check out this awesome accuracy, and like just keep putting them in the dirt. Be like, it went better last time.
Worked better when the camera wasn't rolling.
Yeah.
So now, when I shoot the AK underwater, do I scuba dive, like set the GoPro up on a tripod on the bottom of my pool and swim around with my scuba gear a couple times, or do I like show a picture of a Speedo? Should I be wearing this? Because I don't want to scare anyone.
If I was to do it, I would try to reenact what happened in Lethal Weapon. Like, I'd try to figure out exactly how far by measuring the length of the gun Jet Li was from Mel Gibson and try to replay it and see if it actually worked. Like, put, like, water balloons full of food coloring inside of something.
Oh, that's a good idea. I love that idea.
Because you got to go over the top.
Dude, I'm stealing that.
Otherwise, yeah, steal away. I don't have a scuba tank or a pool. I mean, I can do it in my kid's pool, but then I might shoot through the neighbor's house because I just don't think there's enough water in there. But you got to go over the top. If you honestly want to make this a career, like, think big. Like, PSI Russia, he's always talking about how he would go over the top and, like, fill things full of acetylene and watch it blow up. Explosions don't really do so hot on YouTube these days, so.
Really?
Well, they do in views, but not in, like, staying as monetized as a channel.
Oh, all right. Because people told me, like, are you a welder? Do you weld at all?
I did it professionally for a while, but not lately.
Oh, okay. So people say, like, if you fill a balloon with acetylene and, like, use toilet paper as a fuse, that the bang it makes is crazy.
Well, there's a side story. So me and this one guy were drinking in his garage, his dad's garage.
What were you drinking?
Filled no, nothing that good. It was like Steel Reserve or something like that because I was broke at that time. I think I had to borrow like $5 from my boss to get some liquor.
Do you drink tequila?
Huh? I'm a rum dude.
Rum dude? What kind of rum?
It all depends, but pretty much Captain Morgan exclusively.
I was going to say Captain Morgan. Yeah, I got some of that.
But yeah, so we were drinking. Actually, I think I was drinking Camel 40s. And he fills up a balloon with acetylene. I got to take out. Well, maybe I can do it with the headphones on. So he's got this balloon up there, and he's got one of those grill lighters. It's like, woo! His dad comes over here. What the hell's going on over here? We're both shit facing. I dropped the hammer on the ground. He's like, you son of a bitch. Goes back in and sleep because it's like 3 a.m.
So Swamp Dog says, I haven't found a tequila I like yet. I'm a bourbon guy, mostly. Now, Patron, I like better than Cabo Wabo. Some people like Cabo Wabo better. And there's different kinds of Patron. I did a live taste test. And for those of you that can't afford Patron, the Costco, at least in my taste, if you don't know, the Costco tequilas are very close.
I ate a tequila worm once because it was in the bottom of the bottle, but other than that, I think I was pretty much shit-faced. I think I was pretty much shit-faced when I drank it. I know I didn't like it, though. Margaritas is a little bit different because, like, it just makes the sweetness better to have that little kick at the end.
Right.
Other than that, I can't do tequila.
So liquid nitrogen in like a 2-liter bottle, like if you pour a little bit of liquid nitrogen in a 2-liter bottle, like a couple ounces, put the cap on, swish it around, throw it up in the air. And so what happens is liquid nitrogen is minus 278 degrees Fahrenheit. It basically solidifies the plastic. So it's like glass. And when it hits the ground, the pressure's already built up. It goes off like an M80.
So does toilet bowl cleaner and aluminum foil in a plastic bottle. They actually fit perfectly in the inside of a mailbox too.
Oh, that's crazy dangerous. You gotta if you thought you were demonetized before, that's crazy crazy freaking dangerous. You got to have that. Don't ever do that if you expect to keep your monetization or get it back.
No, that was just stupid things when we did when we were kids.
All right, so all I got to say is my daughter's 19. She's gone to college and she started drinking. And I don't know if I'm the world's best alcoholic or world's worst alcoholic. I'm not sure. I finally got my act together when I was 27 and I bought my dad's house. But my daughter's went back to her college town this weekend, and she's actually, I don't know if she's home yet, but she was, on her way home. Like, hey, if you're going out, don't do anything. I'm like, no. It's like, don't do anything I wouldn't do. I'm like, no, wait, forget that. Don't do anything your mom wouldn't do. She's like, I'll do somewhere in between. I'm like, all right, but if you lean more towards mom.
See, I grew up in the country, so drinking for me was things required. I can't even talk about on here because, wake up in the morning, there's like cattails hanging off the rear axle of my car.
All I got to say is God has blessed me that when I graduated high school and when I was doing all sorts of crappy things in 1983, there were not these things in your pocket that you could record and post on the internet, everything you did, because I would not be employable. No one.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. That's why I know for sure God has a plan for me, because otherwise he could have taken me out at any point along the way. There's a plan there.
Nobody would hire me. Nobody would talk to me. I would have no friends. And what my mom used to say to me, she says, I hope you have kids like you. And I'm like, no, Mom. You don't know half the crap I did. You have no clue what I've done.
Yeah, I think now, though, that the kids are used to being recorded like 24/7 to where they have to, because, my God, if people would have had cell phones back then that they could record with, there's no way I'd be able to be on a public platform.
No, I would have done extra stupid stuff just to, be on. Like that TV show Jackass. That was my high school life growing up. That was, the movie Jackass, not TV show.
Like, hold my beer. Watch me jump this drainage ditch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Are you kidding me? One of my pastimes is water skiing. And I would water ski in any kind of weather, any kind of, like, there'd be 3.5 foot chop on the Great South Bay. I'd be water skiing on one ski. And my friends would go out in their boat and I would ski past their boat. They would hand me a beer. I'd bite the cap off. I'd chug the beer with, while skiing with one hand on one ski. The crap I did, the stupid, unbelievably stupid stuff. Yeah, Swamp Dog says they had Polaroids back then. Yeah, but none of my friends carried a Polaroid.
Yeah, you know how big those things were? Nobody's going to have them. We didn't even have cell phones. The cell phones were, they called them brick phones for a reason.
They were suitcase phones. What are you talking about?
Now, see, I got into it when brick phones, like, at that time, you could buy a smaller one that was, like, maybe, like, this much of the soda. Yeah, right about there for that thick. But you could only make, like, a 15-minute call, 20-minute call if you were lucky enough to be close to a tower, and then the battery was done.
Right. Do you know, if you fly, my plane is fiberglass, so it's, I don't want to say it's invisible to radar, because it's not. Because typically I talk to the guys in the control tower. They're like, do you fly with your keys in your pocket? I'm like, yeah. But yeah, we can see you. Don't worry about it. I mean, the engine's metal, so it's not like the plane's invisible. But if you fly low enough, like cell towers aren't designed to broadcast a couple thousand feet in the air. But if you fly low enough, you usually can pick up a cell tower. Unless you're going fast, because then you're going from cell to cell too quick. And it's not designed to handle that.
Sure. But yeah, so there was no recording. I mean, one time, I shouldn't say one time. There was a couple of times people got pocket dialed, and that was already incriminating enough. But if there would have been like videos taken or something like that, that would have been, because they'd still exist. Somebody would post and they'd be, I know that kid, I got this video, and then post it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's just yes.
Like, I feel bad for when my daughter gets older, and if she does become a public figure or something like that, like, you know, have everything on record, and it's just
They're gonna say, "Who's that guy? That's your dad? Your dad is." So, you know, my daughter won't follow me on IG. Like, she's like, so all of her social media accounts, because my daughter went to a magnet school for the performing arts, and they're all, you know, lefty nutnigs. So she didn't want anybody to know that her dad had some, you know, firearm. So that was. So what's interesting is my daughter's borderline hoplophobic.
the hell is that?
Dude, come on, you're a gun guy. Hoplophobic means fear of weapons, and, you know, modern terms, fear of firearms.
I know what you're talking about, but I heard it pronounced differently.
Oh, okay. So it must be my southern accent.
No, they made it sound more scientific, like hopla. I swear it didn't start with hopla.
Okay. Yeah,
anyway,
it's HOPO. So, and meanwhile, I mean, she shot my PS90. She shot various pistols, and, you know, we've gone to the range with her friends, and they've shot with. But the interesting thing is that she's irrationally scared of firearms, not from what she knows factually, but from what she's seen on TV and movies, in, you know, people getting shot and injured, you know, the unrealistic things where somebody shoots you with a shotgun and you fly back 20 feet in the air, that kind of stuff. So she's seen these unrealistic images, and that's what she takes for real, as opposed to her actual experience going to the range with us.
See, my plan is I'm just going to block my children on Instagram and social media platforms. Let's avoid the problems before they even come.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. So how old are your kids?
I got one that's 5 and one that's almost 2. Or not almost 2. One that's almost 6 and one that's almost 2.
Oh, okay. So you're pretty young. So you're...
Yeah, I'm younger.
Because, you know, my daughter, she's working at a pizza shop in town. And she's making good money. She's getting like $12 an hour plus tips, and the tips are damn good. So she's pulling in a good chunk of change. And she met a guy, and she's like, "Oh, I'm going to go out with this guy at 10 o'clock at night." I'm like, "Yeah, he's coming to pick you up here." She's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're not going out with a guy at 10 o'clock at night unless he comes and meets us first." And so my wife's like, you know, we're like, all right, so which guns do we pull out to leave on the table to clean when he comes?
This guy said, "Don't let your kids have social media." It's literally my business. It'd be like
right.
me selling cigarettes and telling them they can't smoke. It's just not an option. So I'm just gonna block them so they can't follow me.
Well, so here's the one thing. You always hope that you've made all the mistakes, and you can let your kids know what mistakes you've made so they don't make the same mistakes. But a lot of time, I'm probably the worst on that. I've had to do it like several times. Like, a smarter man would stop flying. I'm not. I haven't.
Yeah, no, I gotta learn everything the hard way. That's why I pretty much stand by, like,
Is the stovetop hot? Is it still hot? Is it hot now?
Well, it's not red anymore.
You almost made me spit. So, what is the most unusual thing about you that you don't think your audience knows?
I try to put all that shit out there so it doesn't come and haunt me. No, I'm serious, because otherwise somebody could make like a takedown video on me or something, and if I don't already have it out there, no, that's a thing. So I try to keep all the unusual stuff public.
You don't have like a rose garden or something like that, or
no?
No. You don't like do needlepoint. You're thinking about that.
I used to be able to sew. I used to could.
I probably could sew.
I mean, if you're cut open and bleeding, I could stitch you up.
I could sew.
Trying
in that situation.
Make a perfect seam on something you're going to wear around, you know, it's not going to look the greatest, but it'll hold together. Unusual thing.
So we know about cars.
Yeah. I like guns.
You like guns, right? So, okay, what is your favorite gun?
My Scar.
Scar 16, Scar 17, what? 17?
Yeah, it's a semi-auto 308 and it works. And my past experiences were not quite as good.
Do you have any bullpups?
No, I don't like them.
Are you anti-bullpup?
Yep. That's where I dig. That's where I dig my heels in.
And why?
They just look funny.
See, now if you said, "Hey, the chamber is right next to your damn head,"
No, I'm a more simple person. They just look funny.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm chamber next to your head makes me nervous, but I'm assuming that they've been around long enough where they have figured out how to deal with that. So you don't blow off your face should you split a case or something.
Right. Yeah. So my last bullpup. So my Christmas present to me last, let's see, so 2020 was supposed to be a 50 cal from Safety Harbor Firearms. So they actually make a 50 cal upper that you put on your AR-15 lower, which until a couple of years ago, you used to be able to order that in the mail, have it delivered to your house because it was just an upper. But the ATF redefined that. So it actually has a serial number. So that was supposed to be my Christmas present to me. So that's one of the things when I sell my damn house in New York, I'm going to buy a Safety Harbor Firearms 50 cal. So what is your, I want to have this, can't afford it gun?
It's all old stuff. Like I want to get the Arctic Warfare, the real one, not just building a clone of it. I want to get the PSG one. I want to get probably maybe a Mark 23, Barrett 50. Gotta get the 50. Not the new crap, the M82, the one that the military actually uses or use. I'm not up on if they've upgraded that.
So have you ever thought about building a Monty Griffin?
Mm-mm.
Because that's one of the things that interested me is I'm like, can I build a Monty Griffin? I had a little bit of welding in there, but
that never really got into it. I do need to do a kick gun at one time because I get a lot of shit because I'll be like, oh yeah, we're making this, and then there'll be like 800 comments. You're not making anything. You're just assembling. Whatever. I'm assembling. Fine. So I do need to go put together a kick gun where you take the tube and you weld it and you build the gun off of that just so I stop getting shit about that. But other than that, I have no interest of it because the parts that are on the market are far better than the ones I can make. So why would I want to make it?
Okay, so what's the YouTube video that you thought you did the best on and you got the most shit comments on?
God, there's a lot of them. I'm serious. Like, anytime you put down a hard opinion about something, people are going to get pissed. That's just the way it is. Now,
do you get views on that? Does it work?
Oh, yeah, it works. Like, when people start disliking and leaving hate comments, that video goes through the roof. But I'm like, why? I'm not getting the disconnection here.
So I was going to say I don't own a Glock, but my wife. So here's a story. Let's see. I'm trying to think what we had. All right, she had an LCP2. I had an LCP2. I had an LC9. So I would alternate my carry between whether I was carrying like an LCP2 or an LC9S. And she had an LCP2, and she would keep it like in the little safe in the car tethered to like the undercarriage of the seat. And
let me throw something in there really quick and then continue on. Yeah, that was another thing I got tore up about. I was like, hey, you could buy a high point and put it in your car, and then if somebody steals it, you're not out a bunch of money.
Amen.
Holy shit, the hate comments I got for that, because they're like, you're worse than the criminal stealing it because it should have been left in your car outside of a safe without a trigger lock on it, with like 4 or 5 chains over it, and then camouflage paint the same color of your carpet. Like, then how the hell would I use it if I needed it? It's got to be available.
So, yes. All right, so Mass Hull R, well, whatever his name is, says I need a G45 in my life. So the gun that I'm the most accurate with is my Ruger SR45. I don't know why, but I am crazy accurate with that gun. The gun that I'm most inaccurate with, for no reason, like I could hand it to you, you could shoot, groupings like a freaking dime. I love the Canic. I have the Canic, the first one, the TP9 SA, so it's single action, double action. Love that gun. I love the single action, double action trigger. Can't shoot it for a crap. I'm so inaccurate with it. And
it used to be my FNX 45 Tactical was the gun I was most accurate with, just because I have just an absurd amount of rounds through that. But then I shot my girl's SIG 226, and dude, I don't know, that thing just, I jive with that gun perfectly.
That's cool. Now, have you done any kind of training?
3,000 subs. Is that?
I'm at 3,000. So do I just jump in the water right now and shoot the AK?
No, they'll pull a video. you got to do it in a hard video. You can't do it on live stream.
Yeah, I know. And especially after I put a dent in this.
Yeah, right. Like, I can see the news headline: "Drunk guy drowns while trying."
Wait. I'm at studio.youtube.com, and it says I'm at 29.98. I need 2 more subs, it says.
Come on, guys. Hit him up with 2 subs. You can always unsub later.
You could always unsub later when I do a tech review on something, and on some.
Well, you do need to have more precise drive with your channel.
Like I said, I am the worst YouTuber on the planet.
Like, there's this one guy that got playing videos, because after I talked to you the first time, I'm like, well, let's check out this flying thing. Dude, he's got like 1 million subs, and all he does is have his wife ride with him without a bra.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, I can do that. My wife is well equipped. We can do that.
He'll put her in the thumbnail, like making some weird face, like he's about.
Yeah, it's
to
like Cessna whatever pilot. I know the guy. I know what you're talking about, because I see the
thumbnails.
Yeah, the thumbnails.
Yeah, just do that.
So
that's actually a niche.
Is my wife still on? All right, is my wife in the chat? Because I told her I was.
Yeah, I seen her just a little bit ago.
Oh, did you? Yeah, because we were going to tell a story. Let's see. Is she here? I don't really. You saw her? I didn't see her.
Yeah, it was like
scrolling
just a couple of minutes ago. She was saying to sub to your channel right here.
Oh yeah.
Do it now at 10:18.
Okay.
Do it now.
So we talked. We're texted each other before the show, and so I said I was going to tell the trainer story. And
your Instagram trainer? It's funny because you sent me that picture. I'm like, I've already seen this on Instagram.
And I thought her profile was private. I thought, like 20 or 30 people only saw that. All right, so here, my
you should
wife,
be at 3,000 now.
I'll refresh. So my wife is a fitness nut, and she works out almost daily. And she's eating right, working out, and look, I'm no spring chicken, so it's tough to be in shape. And whoa, dude, I'm 307. All right, I guess I'm doing something really wrong in the pool. The lights just went out. She just turned off the lights. So it's a go. So we're this way. There's the scuba tank in the AK.
And he's going to reenact Lethal Weapon and see if that was legit.
All right, so we're there. Thank you very much, man. This was very cool.
You should see if Paul Harold will send you one of his targets, because you can put that bad boy under the water.
I got to do the meat and the jeans, 2 layers of jeans over some ribs.
Yeah, just copy the target. Who cares? It's in the pool. Wrap that whole thing in like garbage bag, weigh it down, make it so it floats at the right height, get the right distance away.
You are the best YouTuber ever. You're giving me such great content. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem, man.
So what tell me what a good Christmas gift is to you. And anybody in the chat, just name off what is a good Christmas gift?
Something just from your heart.
Really? You are so sappy. Dude, really? That's
I'm
what
serious.
You say?
You get your girl something from the heart. Like, I thought of this. The monetary value is completely irrelevant. I mean, it helps. It does. You pick something expensive. And just something from the heart. Never cash. Never, never, never cash.
Oh, all right. So my soul is screwed because I mean, cash would be a big one, but 50 cal, sugar tits. Who knows sugar tits? Who is the sugar tits in the chat? I mean, 50 cal.
Oh, that's my girl.
I know that.
Oh.
Let's see. A 25-year-old bottle of single malt. That's a good one.
Yeah, something that she either needs or doesn't know she needs.
All right. Who's B3 Outdoors? Boats and Hose.
Boats and Hose.
Right. Somebody said his wife. I don't know whose wife they're talking about. That's the problem when you do like chat in text.
I know, because they'll have separate conversations, so you don't know.
Flying Rich's wife or somebody else's wife. Let's see. So,
like for Valentine's Day, my girl got me this heart-shaped box. I'm like, God damn it! I hate chocolates. I open it up and it's beef jerky samplers. Oh, I can't stand sweets. This is as sweet as I get.
We can't be friends. We just can't be friends.
I open it up and it's beef jerky samplers. It has all these different types of smoked beef jerky. I'm like,
nice.
Oh, that's awesome. It came in an ammo box and it had a beer bottle opener in it and a cup with a Pimp Hand Strong across it.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's crazy cool. That is like off the scales.
Right?
Oh my God. I think I'd cry if I got that. Said Flying Rich and,
Yeah, like just something like personalized from the heart.
My wife's still in here. She's commenting.
Yep.
So get me one of those PSA AK-103s. What is the AK-103?
I think that's the one that has the gas system that works in both directions. Because in AK, they rock back and forth when they shoot. So they were trying to stop that. So, like, if I'm not big on AKs, but I believe that's the one where it has a second gas port in there. So when the gas piston's going back, the second one opens and it starts pushing it back forward to get rid of recoil in the rock.
Well, all I got to say is the PSA guys, they're kicking ass. They're doing so many things right. More power to them.
They just got to
figure out how they started out?
Huh?
You know how they started out?
Who?
PSA?
I remember them starting out as just receivers and like outsourcing everything, and then they slowly grew and just bought everything.
They were selling mags out of their garage.
What?
That was it. And I think they were selling magazines, and I think they got a shipment of, I forget what, something else. And that's how they, started expanding out of magazines.
That's awesome. I love success stories.
Good on you guys, man.
Yeah, I even talked to him like the stereotypical, like when I called him, like all I could imagine was somebody from the Midwest with a big old dip-a-chew, possibly ex-military. I'm like, I like you, just the way you talk.
Right. Like Roy, what's Roy's? Roy from Brown House. What's his last name? Why can't I think of it? Possum Fatback on Instagram. 280U! Hey, buddy!
But yeah, like, I called him up to ask him a question, and I got that guy on there. I'm like, I even told him, I'm like, I don't know why, but I just imagine you as a dip-a-chew, your sleeves rolled up, some sort of military tattoo. I'm like, I just like you.
Right. Yeah, they're authentic. I don't know them personally. I've never met any of those guys. I just know them from other people in the gun community telling me that.
I want to know which one gave FN a handy under the table to get FN barrels. Because they're like the only people that get them.
No, they aren't.
Who else gets them?
What was the other thing we were going to talk about? Oh, yeah, Mr. Guns and Gear story. So there's like two stories I got to tell you now. So FN barrels and Mr. Guns and Gear.
Because, yeah, I tried getting an FN barrel. Yeah, I could get them through my distributor and that, but when I wanted one, they were sold out anyway.
Yeah, I know somebody.
Awesome, because I would like to have just about everything that I have chambered with an FN barrel. Mm-hmm. Do you know why they quit making their shotgun, or even if they quit making their shotgun?
I don't know.
Because I got so angry at my Benelli, I'm like, I'm buying an FN shotgun. And then I found out they either don't make them or nobody has one.
So I'm probably the only gun tuber that doesn't have a tactical shotgun. Go
Mossberg 590.
I gotta pick one up. I don't have one.
Because they're just fun. Plus, if you get a 590, then you can put your bayonet on it.
Well, so when the guy came to pick up my daughter at like 10 o'clock at night, I made sure my Mosin Nagant with the bayonet was like right at the front door.
Oh, don't trip over the Mosin.
Yeah.
I'll have to stab you.
So we're just to make my daughter all flip out, I put my 45 on my hip. I'm like, is this okay when he comes by? Is this all right? You know, having it, you know, right here like this? She's like, Dad. But my wife threatened to shoot the guy if anything wrong.
That's hilarious.
I didn't do it. I just, I was playing it cool. But my wife, she's like, I'll have to kill you if anything happens.
But yeah, I'd just get like a 590A1. They don't have the load gate, so it's super simple to load. It just works. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure there's LEMs out there and ones that don't work, but their customer service is phenomenal. There's only two companies I've experienced where I've been like, whoa, that is good customer service. Mossberg and Ruger.
Really cool. I've got a TriStar over and under that I picked up in Palm Beach County. All Walmarts are gay now, but they used to not be. And when I say gay, I mean hoplophobic. Because whatever you do, it's June. It's National Pride Month. Someday it'll be Straight Pride Month, but it won't this month. But I had to go to Martin County and Stewart and at their Walmart and the TriStar shotgun over and under. Have you seen those things? Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know. I think I paid $300. It's laser etch. It's like, on a really nice shotgun, it'd be like hand tooled, but it's laser etched. It looks great. So that's the only shotgun I have. I do really need to get a tactical shotgun.
If I do get an over and under, I'm going all in. I'm going to drop like some huge bucks and have it all handcrafted because that's like the kind of shotgun you display, or I don't know how to explain it. Like for me, that type of shotgun needs to be like tier 1, highest quality of the highest degree. Kind of like if I were to get
So how much? So how much would you pay?
Probably $6,000 to $8,000.
Okay, all right. Because I mean, people go $20,000 on a shotgun.
Which just
I
out
think
of my
you're
budget.
Nuts.
Yeah, because I'm probably never going to shoot it.
See, I couldn't imagine. And I don't know. I don't know. Like, I used to drive autocross in the Porsche Club in New York. And don't get me wrong. Don't think I'm bougie. I had a $6,000 Porsche. The difference between first and last in a class might be a few hundredths of a second. So if you're shooting competitively, maybe a $20,000 shotgun makes you better. Or maybe if you bought a $20,000 shotgun, it made you feel better and you shot better because of that. I don't know. But I shoot damn good with a $300 shotgun.
But like I said, mine would be more of a display piece. So like, I would shoot it, but it wouldn't be something I would take out on the regular or anything like that. If I got a shotgun like that, it would be primarily as a piece of art. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, I'm not sure if I'm in the Hanger Queen, or the Safe Queen kind of thing. One of my friends, Patrick, Babyface P from the Hank Strange Show, Swamp Dog sending me a lot of messages on Instagram. So he's like, nah, none of my guns are like. He's just like working on an M1 stock, and I'm like kind of treating it good. I'm like, I don't want to bang it or anything. He's like, dude, everything I have is for use. It's not. He's just working on this. I don't want to ding it before he puts the final varnish on it or anything. He's like, no, it's cool. Don't worry about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm not that way. It's like somebody put my P90 on a steel barrel. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, don't drag it across the barrel. You can just like pick it up vertically perfect, but don't drag it across the barrel. I
want to pull up a shotgun I want to get here. Because now I have a weird obsession, love for this shotgun.
I'm reading 2A's comment. He says, I have guns new in the box that are over 30 years old and I won't shoot. Yeah. And he says, great investment. I agree with you on that. I guess I could see that. But how people, are you familiar with the term Teutonic? Do you know what that means?
No, I don't.
So any Porsche review in the 80s or 90s, the word Teutonic was always present. And I had a 924, 79 924, and I had a 1980 turbo 924. And it looked like there were too few switches, too few buttons, too few dials to make it work. And basically, the concept is that the term Teutonic, it's a German term, and it means that everything is functional. There's no extras. There's nothing, no frills, no, like, I knew a girl, and she had, what was the Pontiac, like the G6 Grand Prix. She had a Pontiac Grand Prix. And that thing lit up like a freaking Gulfstream jet cockpit. Meanwhile, my Porsche 924, it looked like a Volkswagen. It just looked like, the worst Volkswagen in the world. Because, there were just a tachometer, a speedometer, and, oil pressure. Nothing, the instrument panel didn't look at all interesting. It just was incredibly highly functional. And the interesting thing is, like, my mother was fresh off the boat from Germany, so I think I'm highly functional, the highly Teutonic type thing. I'm not into the frills. I want something that just works. So the whole gun in a gun case thing, well,
it's the only thing I do with an over and under. I don't skeet shoot or anything. But when I run into stupid money and I can't figure out what to do with it, this is what I want to have made for me. It's from the game Resident Evil. It's a 1897 trench gun, but it's all chrome. It's got a bunch of inletting in the wood. It's got this gold medallion in it and then some gold. I don't know why, but as soon as I played the game, I'm like, I need to own that at some point. Looks like it's a takedown model.
So, okay, 280U says he loves AKs. I'm always jealous. I don't know if you watch his videos, but he's got a milled receiver AK hanging behind him in his videos, and I'd love to have a milled receiver AK. Mad respect for that, deep appreciation. That's one AK I'd like. And so, we talked earlier about AKs and ARs, or AKs versus ARs. I don't know, is there more ammo for ARs out there in the US or more ammo for AKs out there in the US? And right now the AK ammo is cheaper.
We actually have AK ammo on the shelf. Like,
right.
Nobody buys it.
Like, you can still buy 1,000 rounds of steel case AK ammo.
Yeah, but if, like, the world came to an end, that 1,000 rounds wouldn't matter. It's the ammo that's inside of houses and stuff, and what a cop would likely have in his squad car or on his persons, or a soldier would have. And Yeah, like even transfer wise, we must do well. It's hard to say because for a while there was like 30-1. We did like 30
Holy
ARs
cow! Really?
to every 1 AK, but now it's something like absurd. It's got to be like in the hundreds to every 1 AK sold.
All right, I have 1 AK and 1 SKS. So I have 2 firearms that eat 7.62 by 39.
Well, even like the AK I got behind me, that's more of a showpiece than something I would use. Like an AR for me is a tool. Like that's for the job. That's for looking good.
So I started telling the trainer story, and I got sidetracked. And I guess because we're both equally ADD. So who tonight has enjoyed the stream because we've been all over? We've talked of shoes and ships and sealing wax and whether pigs have wings.
Yeah, we're getting close to the 3-hour mark, so I'm going to cut it short soon anyways. Plus, I got to go to the bathroom. But we still got another good 15 minutes in us.
All right, so I'll tell the trainer story to get it out of the way because we talked about it in text beforehand. So
you are getting a bunch of I like the stream, so.
Oh, cool, good deal. So my wife, boy, did we get excited. So I said, what's the great Christmas present my wife got me? And I'm like, opening up the envelope for Christmas. What did I get for my wife? Is it a gift card at, whatever gun store? Is it I bought you this gun, go pick it up, file the 4473. You got like 20 training sessions at Crunch Fitness.
I think that's what my girl's going to have to do to me to get me motivated. I just can't get motivated to train lately.
Wait, all I got to say, I would be incredibly motivated if my girl went by Sugar Tits. That's...
The good news is your trainer's stupid hot.
Okay. So this is the story. So my wife and I, we go to Crunch Fitness. We're both members at Crunch Fitness, and we would go for, the boot camp on Saturdays and whatever and all that kind of stuff. And so we both go. She bought me the, 20 training, whatever. I'm looking for her if she's in the chat or not, but she hasn't been. So some guy that's, 5'6", but, built like a freaking house, big, shoulders and arms and, arms that you sure could he could grab the nut on a tractor trailer hub and just twist the nut off. He'd change tractor trailer tires without a jack, without a wrench, just with his bare hands. He measures my biceps, my waist, my chest, all that stuff, writes it all up. So, okay, your first training appointment's on Tuesday, 7 o'clock. I'm like, okay, great. I'll be here. So I go to training. And my wife's like, hey, how was your training session with Bill? I'm like, Bill who? So, no, I trained with Natalie. She's like, what do you mean, Natalie? Like, that platinum blonde, looks like she just came from Sweden girl? My wife's like, Natalie? That you're training, Natalie's your trainer? I'm like, yeah, Natalie's my trainer. So it was like, I'm, just as big as Natalie, right? I'm like, oh yeah, dear. Yeah, you're just... I had the greatest sex for like 1 or 2 weeks. It was unbelievable. So so there's kind of like that jealousy thing going on. And then my wife and Natalie are best friends. So she started coming to the training sessions, and now her and Natalie are like best friends ever. And I sent this picture to Matt earlier. I don't know if you have the ability to roll it in, but maybe you shouldn't, because if my wife's watching, she might get mad. But Natalie is crazy smoking hot. Nicest person in the world, but look, I'm a guy. She's smoking hot. And so Matt says, I've seen that. That's not your trainer. I'm like, oh no, she's my trainer.
Yeah, I didn't believe you. I thought you were making it up because I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure I've liked that picture before when it's went to Instagram.
I thought her profile was private. I didn't even know she had those public, but so yeah. So Natalie's going to be here at 6:30 tomorrow, and
you better get sleep, or she's going to burn you out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in trouble. Alrighty, guys. So I had a stink load of fun. I hope your audience had a stink load of fun. Thanks for getting me over 3,000.
Yeah, not a
I
problem.
mad appreciate that. And Matt, if you ever come to Palm Beach,
I
look me
won't.
up.
But if you ever come to Oshkosh,
I'll be in Oshkosh, dude. I don't know about this year, but hadn't planned on it this year, but maybe next year.
things got real because we were looking at going to Myrtle Beach, and then we actually started talking about it. Like, okay, like let's plan a trip. And she's like, "Well, I don't want to drive through the mountains." I'm like, "I'm not flying. That's a fact."
You don't fly?
No, boots to dirt.
And
That's me. I'm not flying. So anyway, so there's the mountains. That was a thing. And then civil unrest. That's a thing. We're like, maybe we should just go hang out at the Wisconsin Dells or something.
yeah, you're well equipped to deal with civil unrest.
It don't matter. Not to mention, I'd be rolling with a mobile armory through several states. I'm sure I'm violating several state laws.
Well, it depends on how you drive. As long as you don't go through New Jersey, Maryland, those kinds of states.
Speaking of which, I had the best luck of my life like 2 days ago, maybe a day ago. So when we leave town, I have the proper equipment. So in the event, I don't know, a solar flare happens or something like that while we're out of town,
World War Z.
World War Z, I at least have a fighting chance at getting home. Well, I went into the store and I must have accidentally popped my trunk when I put my keys in my pocket. I come out and my trunk's wide open. Nothing was touched, though.
The only thing that damn saves me is my trunk goes this far open. It doesn't pop. And
yeah, mine was wide open. Anybody that would have parked behind me would have had a full view of like a couple grand in equipment.
oh, jeez. Yeah, that kills me. So I have a Genesis coupe, and it's keyless entry, all that kind of crap. So you just push the button on the door. And I don't know how it is, but somehow I always hit the trunk release button or the alarm button. And where I live, so the minimum property is 1.25 acres, and most people have more. And I'm hearing an alarm go off. What asshole is? I'm like, oh, that's me.
Like, hold my head in shame for a minute. Okay, we're better now. Click.
Like, who the hell? Oh, that's me. So, but so my travel case, when I go on a road trip, I have a 17-inch laptop case. It's like a Pelican case or a Pelican knockoff. I got it on Amazon. Didn't get it at Harbor Freight. And I cut the foam out. So if you take apart the PS90, it fits along with the FN57, and the magazines fit in the top lid. And it closes, and it's a 17-inch laptop case. And I've got the video on Instagram, my YouTube channel, so if you take a look. But I also 3D printed the latches in like the drill guide, so I drilled it so I can lock it because the case doesn't lock. So I've flown with that. I throw that in the car whenever I'm traveling. So that's kind of my get home insurance.
I do need to change my equipment because then I started analyzing my equipment, and I think I'm overdoing it a little bit. Maybe I could take something a little smaller that could be in a more like camouflaged case. So in the event this happens, I'm not just automatically putting on a plate carrier and putting a rifle across my chest. And
yeah, you want to be a little more gray man, I think.
Yeah, because I would definitely stand out. Bandana on, go full rainbow.
Look, right.
Red bandana. Knife in the teeth.
Right. I kind of like to be a little more gray man. So don't get me wrong. I don't think I can pull the tactical off. Like I have a friend of mine. If anybody looks at the Iraq veteran videos, one of the guys from that I went to Iraq veteran with, rode up with me in my car, my Envoy, was this guy Tank, Christian Nelson, and like he's like full tack. If you met him in the Middle East, you'd think he was a native, that kind of guy. Like he's got the beard, the mustache, full tack gear. And he pulls it. I don't think I pull it off. I just think, I'd look like the weekend warrior wannabe.
I don't try to go for the tactical thing.
Gun
But, I
Doctor.
mean, you throw on a plate carrier and that it just kind of comes with it.
Yeah, I hear you. So, do you know Gun Doctor?
No.
So, Gun Doctor competed at I don't know if I could talk about all this. So, he's going to be on a TV show. And there may be another deal coming in the future that I don't know if I can talk about.
Well, we'll let it go.
But Gun Doctor is crazy cool. YouTube guy on Instagram. He's in our chat. And super nice guy, him and his wife. Just great people. So he competed. I forget what it was called. It's something man.
Iron Man?
Not Iron Man. It was like something man. I forget. Surviving Man. That was it. And so nobody knows who won until the TV show came out because they signed NDAs. So he didn't whisper in my ear that he won or anything like that. He actually didn't tell me. But very cool guy. Him and his wife. Love those people. Met him, at the Iraq
Surviving
shoots. Surviving Man, yeah. So he's going to be on TV soon. Now, Cobain Dorito said you can fly with guns. So it depends on the airline as to how much ammo you have. Have you flown with? Oh, you don't fly, so you don't do any of that. Okay, so
I'd never make it past TSA security.
So the great thing about having your own pilot's license and plane is you can fly with a loaded gun and all the ammo you want.
Nice.
And a full-size shaving cream.
Huh?
And a full-size shaving cream.
Have that Gun Doctor guy send me a PM somewhere too.
Oh, sure.
You have to give him my number because I'll bring him on a stream as well.
Oh, he'd be a great guest. Great guy. Like you'll love him. He's a great guy.
But anyway, I'll go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm talking about. So if
I just seen a lull in the chat. And I'm like, all right, we'll exit here and then.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you for having me on the show. Thank you for exposing me to your audience. I greatly appreciate it. This is fantastic. And thanks
not a problem. I actually really enjoy helping people. Like that's kind of like my thing. So if you ever need help with anything, feel free to ask.
For sure. And if you ever decide to come to Palm Beach, enjoy what Palm Beach has to offer, let me know. We may.
That's a long drive through several state lines.
I used to work in Michigan to drive back and forth.
Well, it's not that. Like if I was a single man, yeah, whatever. I'd just jump in my car and go. But I couldn't imagine carrying my kids home across several state lines.
Oh yeah, you got young kids, yeah.
Or getting pulled over and then having to explain what's going on in my vehicle. And no, I'm from Wisconsin. I cross like 5 state lines with all this shit, so I'm good.
Yeah. No, I mean I drive faster than most Cessnas fly, so yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Who knows? Maybe we'll all be friends, and then I'll consider you flying my equipment and my family down there, and then I'll just drive down there. As long as you don't crash again. But if you do, I'm sure I'll see you on the way. They'll stop by and give you guys a ride. All right, let me end the stream here. Everybody have a good night. Definitely check out his channel.
Thanks.
And it will get better because he's going to work on it. Right?
Yeah.
All right, you guys have a good night.